Pantheon viewers, we thank you for every week for coming, helping us out in the show. No Corey today, but we wish her the best. It's Marcus. Marcus, how have you been?
I get it now. Got it now. That was Darius. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing okay. Ready to stream. How are you doing, Darius?
I'm doing absolutely good. Let's go check with Chillmonger, home of the MVP producing country. Hey, what's up? It's Chillmonger. Yeah, salute to SGA. Shout out to basketball in general. Created here by James Naismith. Actually, it might not have been created here. I think he's from here, but he created it in like Springfield, Massachusetts, I think.
Your guess is as good as mine, bro.
But there's a lot of Springfields. It's in one of their swings.
I definitely thought it was America, but I mean, it could have been Canada. Who knows?
He was a Canadian.
He was a Canadian, but where? Yeah, where was it created?
Yeah, it was at one of those schools, and there was like a peach basket that he cut a hole in the bottom of, and he's like, "This is a sport now," and here we are, dominating you guys.
For every Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, there's an Anthony Bennett.
You were supposed to forget about him. How do you remember that? He went all the way back and got him. He's not even on our national team, and he plays. He's like what, 32? He's still active.
Congrats to him.
Ouch, that one hurt me.
What we got up first? What are we talking about today?
If we're done with the basketball talk, let's just jump into this to the real big news because no, I have to do something for basketball talk. I have to do basketball talk.
Oh,
the emotional high I've been on since Tyrese Halliburton brought out the choke, looked over at Reggie Miller, says, like this guy is a savant. He's a basketball lover. He knows his history. I don't think he was even born the day that Reggie Miller did that, but he knew that was part of it.
God, that's embarrassing.
Tyrese Halliburton is a showman. I like that he appears in WWE. And it's funny how him and Jalen Brunson had like a one-on-one segment. I don't know what you would call it. But then here they are also in the Eastern Conference Finals, like the highest peak that you can get in the Eastern Conference because they're both Eastern teams. It's amazing. And I hope that the WWE like storytell and build on this and do something in the summer with these guys. Maybe they can't wrestle, obviously, right? There's contracts and situations that they're not allowed to do anything extreme according to their contracts. But what they can do is be like, I nominate this wrestler. Well, I want this wrestler, and he can be like the champion, the Moon Knight to his Khonshu, and then they can have wrestlers fight each other out.
I think it's a slippery slope, but I do like the idea of them introducing real world narratives into wrestling beefs. It gives people a chance to kind of have the performative back and forth that we kind of see online or sometimes in songs, between certain rappers or even singers. Taylor Swift is notorious for beef in her music, but
we don't call it that, but it is that.
It is definitely that. I think it's interesting, right? It's a new way to create different original stories for WWE. At the same time, how far are we going to let it get? Like, are we going to get it to the point where people are like, they're suggesting, like now they get to air out their dirty laundry in the WWE. Like, I don't want to turn it into Real Housewives.
It only works for Jalen Brunson and Tyrese because even I'll take it back to the NBA Cup, which is the big famous tournament you don't seem to like. But right before the Atlanta Hawks beat the Knicks, Trey Young, he was like rolling dice in the middle of the center court. They asked Jalen Brunson, how did that make you feel? He's like, well, I guess we should have just won. And I'm like, yeah, he gets it. Like, that's the right thing to say. He understands the showmanship aspect of it also. And he could probably, I see him doing the same thing. If the Knicks win the next game, whoever hits the game-winning shot is looking at Tyrese and going nuts. Just continue it. Just like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. I love it. If I was gonna bring up wrestling today, it would be for Roman Reigns.
Wait, hold on, real quick, because that was a good little segue to a thought I had this week. Do you think that Jalen Brunson hates Tyrese Halliburton?
Hates? No, they can't.
Do you think that he clearly hates them now that he did the choke gesture in front of him? Do you think Tyrese Halliburton clearly hates Jalen Brunson? Do you think it's so clear that he has hatred for the New York Knicks because he did the iconic Reggie Miller pose and a game-winning shot? Isn't it clear that he just hates the Knicks?
Let me go ask my white wife first, and then we'll see what she thinks about it.
And you know what?
Right there.
It's funny because everybody, well, not everybody, but the less down individuals who were trying to take up for RG3 were like, oh, well, why'd you bring up his wife? Why would you go to that? It was a sports conversation. I'm sorry. But if you scroll this man's Twitter, if you look at his Instagram, if you just Google
The milkman?
RG's wife or
Yeah.
milkman, you will see why that is a valid conversation to have. You know what I mean? Like he puts that out there. It's not like somebody just drug it out of left field. He's never mentioned his wife's whiteness. He enters the zeitgeist upholding his wife's lack of melanin. Okay? Like that's what he does as a joking matter. So now if I talk about your psyche in relation to that, now I'm wrong. Milkman, get out of here. No. You lay in that bed. You lay in that milk-filled bed.
For more on this subject, check out the Back of the Bus channel for W's and L's this week.
Absolutely.
Josh is
Yes,
in the
I
building.
did see this. That is interesting as well. I would think that Akron would be focusing more on getting the academic standards of their college football team that they're spending millions of dollars a year on up so that they can play in the postseason. But no, let's rent out Kobe Hall to Kai so he can do hood rat shit with his friends.
Hello to Felix and Andre Ware. We got Ditrimoni. Let's do this. Let's do it.
What up?
Zangbedo's in the building as usual. You're Professor Film Fan. Wow, shade. I don't remember what we said, but sure there was shade. We got my favorite YouTube commenter in the building. What? We got this guy. Tony says,
oh no, they didn't. Is that real? Is that what the thing was? Oh,
they're calling it Doomsday. You see, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, before we hit live today, we learned something. Avengers Doomsday and the film Dune will have the same release date in December of 2026. The Avengers moved it from May, and now it'll happen in the winter. Ooh, it worked for Barbenheimer, didn't it? Now, let me tell you what's different from Barbenheimer to everyone who's going to say that. Barbie's a separate, little girls are going to see Barbie. Rated R Oppenheimer, 3-hour film, is not that audience. They're totally separate, and I can see why those two movies could happen on the same day. Plus, they also happen on the same day to get at Christopher Nolan for abandoning WB and going with another studio. But they are not the same thing. Dune and Avengers Doomsday are these kind of like mega event films that you're kind of speaking to the same audience. People who like the fantasy, the action, and then the major motion picture stars. That's why I think that Avengers and Dune won't happen to happen on the same day. Someone's moving. Dune is going to go earlier.
Okay, so let's look at where Dune is, right? Because Warner Brothers is in a precarious position as well as a studio. I don't think that we talk a lot about Marvel and how they, content's been so bad, they're not making a lot of money. But see, their other product arms allow that failure to take so far to get down the line, right? We got to burn through parks money. We got to burn through merchandising money. We got to burn through all of the avenues that they've been able to branch outwards. Warner Brothers still has some of its properties tied up in other things. They don't have the licensing or the merchandising licensing to everything. They don't have parks. They have rides in parks, but they don't have parks themselves.
No, yeah.
Right? So they're missing a lot of buffer to kind of hide their failures, where Disney can kind of push it off and still say, hey, we're making money though. All right. So
sun goes up, sun goes down. They made money.
However, in terms of where the studios are, in terms of audience confidence, I think the Dune audience is much closer to ringing true in a battle if nobody moves than Avengers Doomsday, right? Like we would have to see some sort of momentum build out of the cinematic MCU before we would automatically assume that Warner Brothers is just going to move out of the way.
Nah. Yet people aren't paying to see Thunderbolts, and not so many people are paying for Brave New World, and it grosses $400 million. But it doesn't mean that they won't.
Why would Doomsday mean anything to them if they're not going to see Fantastic Four?
Because they've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, and because they saw the Spider-Man Far From No Way Home.
Both of those are established properties. Those were the third and fourth installment of both of those movies. Sorry,
this is the fifth Avengers.
See, I think where that kind of breaks is that this isn't a direct continuation of Avengers movies. This Avengers film that we have coming up here will be a representation of this era of Avengers. So, Thunderbolts, Captain America Brave New World, Fantastic Four,
You're
all
already
of that
counting that?
no, it counts. It has to count
No,
because
but it
this is the
hasn't
cast.
flopped yet. It may be successful, maybe.
Well, it may be successful. If it's successful, then then that's a moot point.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying they matter to the overall anticipation for Doomsday. If there is no Marvel's back moment, which they've been trying to throw that tagline out there every time they have an opportunity. There is no Marvel's back moment, then I just don't know how we are going to artificially pump up the excitement for a crescendo of all of that. Right? Like we're not, if Chris Evans is in this movie, which I believe he probably is, and then a lot of the other Avengers cast, they won't be the driving force of the film. They'll be cameos. They will be accents, but they won't be the narrative. They won't be the guys that are on screen for 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time. That's going to be your new Avengers with a Z. That's going to be Sam's Avengers that have somehow formed off screen. And we're just going to act like that's not going to be some sort of, sobering moment. The reason why we loved the original Avengers teams is because we saw that team form. We saw each individual in their own silo, and then we saw how they came together. And that's what made an Avengers movie. You're telling me half of the actual Avengers got together while we weren't watching, and that's supposed to get the same tug? That's going to get the same rewatchability? I don't believe that.
Right.
I 1000% don't believe that. And so if it's Doom versus Doomsday, I need to see something from Fantastic Four before I'm thinking Doom moves.
But Avengers Endgame grossed nearly $3 billion. So if it grosses half of that, so if they lose half of their audience, we're still grossing an extremely successful film, an all-timer.
You know who you just made an argument for? Wakanda Forever.
Well, I don't.
You
I
just
don't
made a
think that it's
Wakanda Forever argument. They lost half their audience, and that's success. That's not success.
No, I'm not making that case. I'm putting up against Dune. And I
Oh,
looked
okay.
at the Dune numbers earlier when you were speaking.
Sure.
The first Dune grossed $410 million.
Mhm.
And then the second one was, and that was during the day and date release that they had with HBO Max.
Oh, with HBO, right? Yeah, with that hurt it.
And then the second Dune Part 2, in a normal time, it came out and it's $714 million. The trajectory is going up by 300 million each time. I mean, that's not a pattern necessarily, but we can see things are going up.
Yeah, at least it's trending up. And so if they could get close to $1 billion, I think that's competitive with what the top end ceiling of Disney Marvel is right now. I think we still have that 1.5, 1.3 idea that is they're just going to shit it out at some point. That's earned, right? The Deadpool audience has been cultivated over years. People knew that they were going to get some sort of Deadpool spectacle. They knew what they were going to get coming into the movie. Spider-Man, same thing. Multi-billion-dollar franchise. This is the third run at the trilogy. And then all the leaks and rumors of everybody who's going to be in there. Now, I do think that adds intrigue to Doomsday. Robert Downey Jr., the Fox Universe, X-Men coming in, all of this. That's going to drive some of it. I think what is going to be what's going to give us the best sign is how Fantastic Four and Superman do together, right? Is there still an audience that's big enough for both of those films to be successful at the same time? Or do they cannibalize each other because there's only so many people that are going to show up for these events anymore? Because quite honestly, both of these studios have been missing the mark. So that's really going to tell us a lot. If they both blow it out the water, then I think they both should the whole pat. They should just Barbieheimer it out and see who wins the day. But if both of them have middling results, I'd pick Dune. I'd pick Dune because they've shown that they have the most consistent success right now.
You underestimate Avengers. You underestimate that word and that memory and how people will pay for. Yeah, I know some of this other was gunk, but Avengers is what it's called. A proper trailer which featured Thor more, or which would feature Doctor Strange and some of the recognizable figures, a proper trailer will get people in there. They can even have Spider-Man without Tom Holland. You know that?
But I don't think is Tom Holland in this movie? Is going to be in
No,
Doomsday?
he can record his lines, and they can have a masked Spider-Man the whole time.
I don't think they're going to do that though. Like I don't think that's what they're going to do. Elizabeth Olsen, Brie Larson, like if we've got Thor, then why wouldn't we have Captain Marvel? If we've got Sam Wilson, why wouldn't Spider-Man be there? You know what I mean? Like, yes, there is positive with them bringing in the characters that they're bringing in for nostalgia purposes. There is also holes created there. There's also other expectations that people might have walking into theaters and not see Scarlet Witch and not see Captain Marvel and not see, who else is reported not to be coming back in this movie?
Riri Williams still isn't reported yet.
Who knows?
The character that they really believe in.
Yeah, the one they really believe in. Yeah. I mean, it feels like we're hodgepodging this thing together. And another thing is that they're not done writing it either. How confident am I in a movie that's not even finished? They're not even done casting. So conceptually, this movie hasn't even taken form yet. I am not there confidence-wise because most of that age-old wisdom about what Marvel's going to do when they have to has come from a begotten age. They haven't been that Marvel in some time. So,
do you think any of them move? I'll remind you that this Christmas season we had Sonic and Moana, and we had Mufasa that came out, and there was Wicked was around that period. We had lots of movies coming out in December.
A lot of family movies come out during the holidays. Maybe one of them moves. Because I mean, December can become very packed very quickly. Whichever studio is not feeling the most confident after the summer is probably going to move.
Yeah, they're going to bully them. Marvel is going to bully Dune out of their spot, and Dune will go either forward or backwards to March of 2027.
So let me ask you this. What franchise, because obviously Sony is Spider-Man and then Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds and his stuff, right? So what franchise does the MCU have right now that rivals Dune? I mean, really, it'd be a more apt comparison to go to Lucasfilm, but we know they ain't got shit. So let's say MCU. What franchise do they have right now that rivals Dune?
I'll tell you what they think. They think Thor. They think Black Panther, even if they don't have T'Challa. They think Doctor Strange does better than Dune does. They think Deadpool. They probably guessed the Fantastic Four still. The X-Men.
They think Doctor Strange is more profitable than Dune?
900 million last time.
No, because the multiverse of madness. You're right.
Without China. So yeah, that's that. There's 5 right there. Maybe not Captain Marvel anymore, but yeah, they got 5.
Let's. There's probably 2 of them that I feel like are legit out of that. It would probably be Strange and
Thor.
Well, but see, here's my thing with Thor. Thor started coming backwards at a pretty drastic rate, right? Like if we're just talking about reading charts and reading where things are going, Thor had a precipitous drop from Ragnarok to Love and Thunder. At least Strange, you saw a steady uptick and a pretty sizable gain from the first Strange to Multiverse of Madness. So I'll give it to Strange. Thor feels like if it's not dead, they need to revive it, because a franchise that most recently before then posted $1 billion in Ragnarok, right? Did they not make $1 billion Ragnarok?
Are we gonna do this again?
I mean, I'm asking you a question. I didn't say it.
It did gross $1 billion. I want to say 700 million.
Well, don't guess when I'm guessing. Let's look.
We're doing it again.
Just look it up.
It's fine. You think Thor made a lot of money? Go ahead.
It came back. It wasn't $400 million like Thor: Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder was 800 million.
Thor: Love and Thunder?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're doing this.
Oh, I got those mixed up.
That 800 million didn't sound right for.
Yeah, Ragnarok
Well,
did 800. Love and Thunder did 700.
okay. So one's going backwards.
Yeah.
Dune gained
Oh, without
$300
China.
million.
We should make it clear without China. If it had China, it would have also made it 800.
But if you're looking at Dune, right, their first movie came out in a day and date release, which was the dumbest thing that ever happened to major motion films. So they could have made much more on the initial, right? So I feel like Dune is shown a consistent rise in audience. I feel like they don't have the same type of stigma when they're putting stuff out. There's not that question of, is this the good version of it? It's new. It's not something that people are already into, or that you have to do a whole lot of reading or watching to get into. There's 2 movies and a television show that just came out. So in comparison to jumping on the train with the MCU, it's a lot easier for the common viewer. They just haven't built up to a crescendo type film the way that we're used to them doing that.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like this at the
in a
first
way they
movie.
have. You know, in a way they have, because Multiverse of Madness dealt with incursions. At least they mentioned it 3 years ago in a film. At least TVA and stuff like that may be included here. It's not like they haven't led to it properly and built to it very well, but there has been mentions of what will happen here, even in Spider-Man.
I mean, sure. We'll see what it does, man. I'll continue to say Fantastic Four and Superman are going to tell a lot about what the ceiling is for Doomsday. I do think the superhero audience is a little bit drained. I think that they've been fed too much crap in too little amount of years. Like, it's too much bad films over a short amount of time. You've had a Madam Web, a Marvels, a Flash, a Brave New World, all within 5 years. And those are competing studios. That's signaling to the audience that the genre is the problem, and not necessarily, not any one studio. You're
Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web.
Yeah, Kraven the Hunter. Like, we've had too many duds for you to just think people are going to walk into the theater because you put a name on it.
I know. Avengers still takes Dune, and even with this bad reputation that they've got, it's still Marvel, and there's people willing to see the Robert Downey Jr. is back. There's like a lot of fans. If you listen to the enthusiasm at Hall H during that reveal, a lot of fans were happy. Hall H this year, what they do at Comic-Con now, maybe gets people interested. I know if they say we're recasting T'Challa, I'll be interested.
Sure, yeah, I'll reach everybody back for sure. Oh, you said something about the Black Panther franchise too. When Black Panther 3 comes out and makes less than Wakanda Forever, then we will know exactly where that one lands for sure.
Yeah, that's almost a guarantee that Black Panther 3 will gross less. They won't be able to market Chad's death anymore, and it's just some guy who's not actually T'Challa in the thing.
Yep, facts.
YouTube user Planet Fanatic says disagree. I can't tell if it's the real one.
Looks like him.
That's what they want you to think. Why isn't he here? And why didn't he answer my DM? I digress. We want to move on to something else?
Let's do it.
Actually, let's ask the audience. Audience, who moves? Avengers? Dune? Or do they stay? Which one of these movies are going to move? I don't think Avengers moves. I think Avengers came to December 18 to say this is our date. I don't think they move.
That's a lot of confidence for a studio that's continuously posting duds on the small and big screen. It's big talk.
Come on, audience, come through. I asked the question. There's a 7-second delay. You got to wait for things. But let us know. Do you see anything?
Not a thing. I think we were move on. Oh, wait. Avengers can't afford to move, says MoFly. Okay, so yeah, they were in a May slot and they moved to December. Is that what we're saying? Okay, so then first of all, why are we not acknowledging that for what it is? Like, we're talking about it as if, yeah, they want to get in the fight with they're shooting right now.
Something went wrong.
Yeah. Why are they moving to December? Come on, y'all. Like, let's we were going at this the complete wrong way. The complete wrong way. They just delayed this film 7 months. You don't delay a film 7 months to get into a fight with another film. That doesn't make any sense. During the holiday season too, during the Christmas month. Does that sound like a studio that's very confident about the product right now?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a very coordinated studio. I think that they both stay. Okay. That maybe is the least likely for me.
When you put it that way, yeah, no, they definitely not. Well, if they move again, it's because things have gotten worse. Whatever's wrong now has gotten worse.
Yeah.
Most don't care about those duds when you have the Avengers. I mean, but that's okay. All right, well, we'll see. We'll see, y'all. It wasn't just the name Avengers that brought people out to those movies, and I feel like y'all are discounting what happened in the lead up to those films that actually got us there. We didn't just go run into the first Avengers film because Avengers was an established product. No, we watched that movie because of Thor, because of First Avenger, because of Iron Man 1, because of Incredible Hulk. That's why we went to go see Avengers to the degree that we went to, not because the name Avengers.
Yeah.
Like that could have been anybody. It could be Yelena, Red Guardian, John Carter, Agent Carter, whatever the hell that man's name is, Ghost, RIP Taskmaster, and whoever the fuck else, right? And that's your Avengers. So, but what did that do?
Yeah.
They slapped new Avengers on it. Did that make them any more money?
No, it didn't work.
I'm just saying, y'all, there was more than just the name. There was more than that.
We got a Dune hater here. That Doomsday will definitely beat Dune. Dune is the most rated story at the moment. The first one was the most boring movie. Don't understand the hype for the franchise.
Okay, well, you obviously don't like it, so it's your opinion. That's sure. It's a little biased, but you just don't like the movie. Darius, get on the stream.
Okay, fine.
I'm not arguing with you in the comments. Get on the stream.
Let's take away the names and just do one. Robert Downey Jr. That is enough from what I've seen online to get people on the theaters again. Okay, a video of him staring down.
Online sentiment like that's movie tickets. If that was the case, then Thunderbolts would have been the most highest grossing film of the year because it had the highest praise online. It was damn near at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. So online sentiment didn't help Thunderbolts. If you think Robert Downey Jr. playing another character, even though we all know him as Iron Man, is going to single-handedly lift them to $1 billion, then we should have never let Robert Downey Jr. go in the first place. It was the dumbest idea in the world to let that man die in Endgame if he can single-handedly lift the MCU to prominence. Should never let him leave.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you, Steve.
So, what was I just thinking? Damn, I lost my train of thought. But let's move on to something else.
Sure. Did you? I think we got a super chat. Did you already read that?
Yeah, it was a membership. That's not really
membership thing, my bad.
So thank you. Yep. Let's go to the den of nerds. Let's go to Josh. You can explain this one for us. We're talking X-Men.
Kevin Feige wanted a more grounded X-Men story with a plot that really focused on social issues and disagreements about what it means to be a mutant. He wanted a powerful, dramatic movie that really showed what the X-Men were all about, with the Brotherhood of Mutants as the bad guy. Now, that's kind of interesting because I had heard that the Brotherhood and Magneto were actually not going to be a part of the movie. So maybe when he says X-Men story, he's talking more about just the overall story. I thought it was going to be Apocalypse and or Mr. Sinister as the villain. Anyway, let's move on. But that's not what Iger and Disney want. Aware of the poor performance of more restrained films, especially the disappointing box office like Brave New World and Thunderbolts, the script has been requested to focus on a great event film to get a wider audience's attention. So expect the MCU's first X-Men movie to be huge on events and focus on the box office with more action and fan service Ideological issues will carry on, but they will be less important than dealing with something bigger. Okay. So that is kind of an interesting dynamic there. And
Okay. Two trains of thought.
Yeah. I think the Kevin Feige's plan was the plan after a successful phase 4, phase 5. If they could have gotten through most of the Disney Plus sludge and some of these films that maybe they didn't necessarily want to make, but they were too far in production to completely can, and then they could pivot to some better storytelling, and that would drag them out of the hole. The better storytelling was supposed to be Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, what will be Fantastic Four. That was the turning of the tide. Like that is the, hey, we know we've messed up. We really going back to the chopping block on these next couple of projects. That was the word on Brave New World. That was the word on Daredevil, Born Again, right? Chopped it all to hell. We're going back to what we were doing in Netflix. Bring back Foggy and Karen. Let's get it right, right? They're currently reshooting Fantastic Four while they're delaying Doomsday. Chopping it all to hell. Now we're 2/3 through what was supposed to be the Renaissance. It was supposed to be the revitalization of Marvel's brand. We're already down Daredevil, Captain America, Thunderbolts. We're going to have Ironheart, which I know a lot of people are, kind of pushing aside. Oh, we're not going to watch it. Whatever. If it doesn't perform, that is not a thing that Disney can ignore. It's not something that they're not in a position to say, oh, well, that was just our bad one. It's all their bad one. So Kevin Feige is in a spot where he knows that he let the writing get off the rails.
Okay.
And go into the shitter. At the same time, writing compelling stories like Andor is not going to pull you out of you're not going to get you to where you need to be. Andor is not going to cut it for the MCU. You need, oh my God, Luke Skywalker just walked in and took Grogu. That's what you need. That's what you need. You need, holy shit, Magneto came in from a portal and then fucking dropped the space shuttle. I don't know. You need something big. You need internet viral moment. You need spectacle. You need a reason for people to go into the theaters and go crazy. And what's interesting about that is that you are less successful at doing that right now than a Frankenstein block character on top of a duck or a chicken, whatever the hell that thing is in Minecraft. You're less effective of igniting your audience than Minecraft? Or is it that you just feel like you don't need to do that anymore? You're above it. Hey, listen, man, sometimes cheap thrills get us where we need to be, i.e. Deadpool, i.e. No Way Home. Those things are needed. So I get where Iger's coming from. He's like, look, you had it. Thunderbolts was your chance. If Thunderbolts would have worked financially, then I would have let you and Shire do whatever y'all want to. But since it's not, we're going to do this the way that I think that we should do it. That's kind of what happens, right? Kevin Feige had all this rope. He stopped making money. And now there's no more rope. Now you're an employee again. You were running amok in the palace like it was yours. Now you're an employee. Get back to work.
Okay. I think both are great ideas. I think if Kevin Feige is doing that smaller scale movie that's talking about the way that the mutants feel and how they're discriminated against and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are going to be used as the villains and it's going to be less spectacle type stuff, then I think that's an awesome movie that can play out, or a good TV show. And I'll get to that thought in a second. But as I said last week, this is Donald Trump's America, and no one's trying to have that, and they don't want to alienate some of their red hat wearing audience members, try to make them feel empathy and whatnot. Icky. I think that's where Bob Iger's spectacle movie idea comes in, and that's an awesome idea also. to have a great big villain. Maybe they could be on the island of Krakoa, or like they could do the Shi'ar Empire, or they could do all these other great things. And Bob Iger's like, nah, we're not trying to have that. The way that was reported feels like to me that they don't want to use the language that I'm using, and they don't want to be that direct, and they would rather hide behind words like ground level and major spectacle or event films instead of saying what it actually is. And it's like, we don't want to have racial allegories, themes there in our movie because Donald Trump won the election, and any DEI program that is active is going to be, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be looked at as unwelcoming.
So first of all, it's impossible to tell an X-Men story without racial allegory. It's just not possible.
Yes, it is. It's possible.
It's not.
There's an X-Men comic.
How do you tell a story about a group of people being ostracized because of who they are with it not having a racial connection, without it not having signifiers of racial discrimination?
No, but you said, how do you tell the story about people who are ostracized? Just don't do an ostracized story. Do a story about something else.
Mutants. Then you're not telling it accurately. Like if you're telling an X-Men story and they're not being hunted, chased, or discriminated against, you're not really telling
sometimes mutants fight other mutants for the sake of, I'm jealous, I'm angry, or there's
right.
other reasons.
But the basis of their fighting is how to handle the surrounding world around them. If you're talking about the Brotherhood of Mutants, their main conflict is how we should either fight with each other against the humans, like mob up, or get out of our way while we do what needs to be done, type of thing. But the main conflict is their interactions with the human population. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't fight.
Darius joined, and I don't know if he wants me to include him. I thought he was waiting this whole time, but I'm going to include you. Is that okay? Come in.
You may be driving.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sitting back here. I was like, hello.
What up, brother?
What's going on? No, I disagree with several things that y'all have been saying this stream. One, on the X-Men with Chill, with what he just said. As much as I love every time to throw anything negative on Donald J. Dumbass Trump that I get a chance to. I love that. This, I don't think, has anything to do with making America great again, or that cheap-like crowd, or himself. I think this has to do with, again, just the word spectacle, just the word big, just reaching for the stars. I mean, you've got all these super powerful beings. Why would you not want to have a spectacle? Why would you not want to have, showcasing everyone's powers? And don't get me wrong, like I said last night in my stream, I agree with what Marcus said too. You cannot do the X-Men without some type of racial allegory. So you've got to somehow throw that in there, but still throw in the spectacle as well. Otherwise,
there's stories
with them, you fail, you're done. You can't fail with the X-Men.
The stuff you were talking about is spectacle, though. Like a fight with the Shi'ar Empire, that's spectacle. Going to Krakoa,
it's got nothing to do with any of the racial stuff. We talk about the Dark Phoenix,
because I don't think that's exactly
Age of Apocalypse has nothing, or Apocalypse himself.
You're boiling it down to when he says, when Iger says he wants spectacle. I just
the dog whistle.
Again, I don't believe that. I think Kevin Feige has been kind of addicted to giving droplets, right? He's gotten kind of used to edgelording the audience. Like, he won't just do the thing. He will tease the thing and then tease it and then tease it, to the point where sometimes these teaser plot lines don't even end up going anywhere. They forget about them, or we have to throw them away because we pivoted, because he just doesn't give us the thing. Remember back in what was Brie Olsen?
Captain Marvel?
Scarlet Witch. No, I'm sorry, not Brie Olsen. Scarlet Witch. Elizabeth Olsen. What was her show?
WandaVision.
We were supposed to have Doctor Strange, which it never really makes sense that Doctor Strange wouldn't show up. We got this Nexus event happening right now.
Yeah.
Witches fighting. Like, there's no reason why the Sorcerer Supreme shouldn't be showing up to investigate. Kevin Feige holds it back. Why would you do that? Why?
He said so. He told you because he didn't want a white man to come in here and be the MacGuffin, fix everything for her.
You
asked.
That's stupid, but that's dumb. And
that's the guy in charge of making the X-Men movie, and I think Iger saw that and he goes, "Too much racial inclusion, too much empathy happening over here. I don't want the audience to know that we're doing that."
That is not just a racial. That has nothing to do with race. There's literally nothing to do with race. Everybody in that show was white except for Tiana Paris. It got shit to do with race. It has everything to do with the fact that he does not go full-fledged. He doesn't feel like he needs to go over the top in nostalgia bait. He wants to be a thoughtful creator. He wants to make superhero content more artful and connect it to your emotions and things of that nature. We want the bam, bam, blow it up, shoot them up, explosions. We want the stuff we showed up to the shit for.
You don't think Kevin Feige's mutant race-based story isn't going to have blow it up fantasy?
I think he wants to probably highlight a story that focuses on, like what you're talking about, the good mutants versus the bad mutants, the mutants who think that open violence versus the humans is needed versus the ones that stand in between them and fight, which is going to give us a bunch of scenes talking a lot of emotional draws, probably a little bit of trauma sprinkled in there for the black characters. The same typical shit we've been getting off of MCU shows for the last 5 years.
Okay.
So like that hasn't been working. It hasn't been working. It's not drawing the audience in. It's not just that it's not giving enough room to other racial groups, which we know they're not doing that, right? But that's not the issue they're fighting over. You're not doing the thing that's getting asses in seats, is what Bob Iger is coming from. You can give me all of this perspective about better storytelling you want. Number one, you allowed it to get there. Number two, that's not pulling us out of the hole currently. Do the thing that gets the asses in the seats, and then we can talk. But these lofty expectations. Yeah, we're gonna do this 10-year X-Men plan, and I'm gonna cultivate my new X-Men team while I'm executing, bringing in all the Fox X-Men for Doomsday, and it's all gonna go seamlessly because I'm Superman in a black hat. That's how all this went to shit in the first place.
They should take Ryan Reynolds' screenplay that he's writing right now, or treatment for X-Force, and definitely make a movie out of that in the next 3-4 years. It's free money.
I thought Deadpool 3 would be a version of X-Force, to be honest.
But again, you haven't moved me. I think you ever been lied to? Oh, that's not why. Well, race? No. It's just there's a new policy in place here, and it's that's what that was always a rule. It's right over there. It says so right there. There's a sign right there. You ever been lied to? That's what Bob Iger's lie is. What? No, Kevin, we don't want to do one of those movies. We want to do an event. A more expensive villain than like whatever villain he was going to use before.
Do you think that Kevin Feige had a plan to highlight Aurora Monroe and Bishop? And
no, he was going to use his white mutants to tell the mutant allegory.
What is the racial issue? I guess I'm missing that.
Mutant race, the mutant race versus the Homo superior versus the Homo sapiens.
Right, but that's there. Like that's never not going to be there. Humans are going to be afraid and try to fight the mutants. That is intrinsic to the.
Okay, think like a Zionist. Do you really want to have an oppressed group of people who take to arms be seen as like good guys? Do you want that?
No. No.
If I'm Bob Iger, I'm like worried about what we put out and how I want the X-Men movies to go. And the less that we make the audience think, the happier I am.
Well, then my question is, why are we doing X-Men? The X-Men at their core are a underrepresented niche group in a sea of aggressors. How are you going to tell that story? Why are we even doing it? We're not like it doesn't change the fact that they're mutants if they're fighting Mr. Sinister.
Okay.
They're still on Earth, they're still mutants. They have to live regular lives. We're starting them out as teenagers, most of them. How do you plan on telling this story without any racial allegory at all whatsoever? It just doesn't, even if you bring it back to bare knuckles like Christopher Claremont shit, it's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Marvel makes changes a lot. And this could be one of those changes. They changed Kamala Khan's superpowers. When you can change a superpower of a character, you really don't care about what it's supposed to be.
I'll be very interested to see how they execute it. But then, again, they go too far, they'll butcher it, and it'll suck. It'll suck. So
I like Kevin Feige's idea for a TV series. And if he gets the no, I hope that he goes, fine then, I'm going to make it a TV show, and it'll be happening 3 months before the movie comes out. And I think that would be some good synergy where we can have a TV show basically promote the movie and get people hyped up. And we can have the movie characters show up in there. The TV show could be like about lesser known mutants who are at the school and they're students and they have adventures that deal with mutant suppression. But when it comes to the movie, the big event, okay, now we get to see Cyclops and Professor Xavier on screen for the majority of it, and everyone else. Hopefully not a black Professor Xavier.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think the audience wants it. I don't think they want half of what they're expecting. I don't think they wanted a diet version of X-Men. I don't think there's an appetite for stuff like that right now.
What are the new Avengers Thunderbolts? A diet version of the Avengers? What's Captain
Is
America
it
Brave New
going
World?
well
A diet?
for you? Is it going well? Like, is
No, it's
Thunderbolts going well? So that's what I mean. I don't think the audience is there for it.
Yeah, but they'll still do it, and it feels.
Oh,
that's-
well, yeah. Now, if we're talking about what they're going to do, that's
Yeah.
a completely different conversation from what they should do.
A Black Panther who's not actually T'Challa. This is them.
Yeah. What
Unless
they will do
Darius'
is
source, unless your source is correct, Darius, unless we do get the Black Panther T'Challa, announce that Hall H at Comic-Con. Because his source lied to us, or his source said to us, his source said, listen, if none of the trades pick it up and it's a surprise, they'll announce the new actor at Comic-Con. Okay. Black Thought 81, he says, they could easily meet in the middle. Most studios do just that, so you can have a good spectacle, but with some great substance.
I feel like that's what most of the first X-Men movie was. I mean, it wasn't anything over the top. Magneto was the main villain. It was mainly the Brotherhood versus the main team X-Men. The main conflict was how to handle mutant human interactions, racial allegory.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige executive produced that film. I don't understand why we're
also
doing this.
There's a more favorable oppressed group, and it has nothing to do with your skin tone, but what you do in a bedroom. And I feel those allegories have been heavy in comic books for X-Men and mutant characters. I think that's the allegory they truly care about the most.
I think we have shaken the tree as sufficiently as we can to find those hidden audience members and add them to the MCU fan base.
That's very facts-based.
If they haven't come by now, go fish in a desert, I guess. Have your...
No, Marcus, you don't understand. There's no water in the desert.
No. Let them go fish in the desert. If that's what they want to do, go fish in the desert.
Ooh, yeah, I don't want to. Okay, listen. Fantastic Four flops. Everything in the female Silver Surfer, the lesser than characters, the version we don't really recognize, the race swapping of Reed Richards, kind of. He's a Chilean actor, right? So kind of race swapping. He's still very under melanated, light pigmentation, but anyways,
very Caucasian Latino. I
think when that doesn't perform the way that they want it to perform, it's not no $700-800 million Thor: Love and Thunder movie. When it starts going into the 500 again, like even that movie doesn't gross much, then there's no more risk. Then there's no more, hey, listen, Feige, you're getting too creative right now. Can we just freaking adapt what's on a comic book page? Somebody drew it a few years ago and just make this into a movie? Thanks, Kevin. I think that's when he starts getting a little bit of scolding. Like the same way he talked, Bob Iger reportedly talked down to Kathleen Kennedy, get your ish together. I think Kevin Feige gets that too. When Fantastic Four, even Fantastic Four doesn't work.
Here's the thing. Kevin Feige already got his whooping. Kevin Feige was on his way to Lucasfilm, y'all. He was getting ready to start splitting duty. He was going to be working at both studios. He already got his whooping. Focus. Get back to your work. And so if now we still haven't done it, now we have to have another conversation. And so this one probably isn't going to be as short, and it won't leave Kevin Feige feeling as good as he probably left the last conversation. Because after that ass spanking, he probably told him, hey, you're still our guy. Yeah. We know you're going to lead us forward. You got this. Let's go ahead and make it right. Now, a whole year later, look, there's going to be some ifs and if nots in this conversation. And I really need you to be okay with that. If such and such and such and such doesn't happen, then blah 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 blah. I think is what that starts to lean into, because results is what matters at the end of the day. If you can't put up the numbers, no one really cares about the relationship stuff anymore. No one even really cares about your reputation at that point. If you've hit your wall, if you've hit your ceiling, then people are going to move on.
Stemming of bright blood, the mutants in it was a hacked apart story and was in purgatory for years. The actors didn't look like characters they portrayed anymore by the time it came out. Apples and oranges, rubbish.
I don't know what part of the conversation he was referencing, so I'll agree.
The Mutants. New Mutants, you mean? The New Mutants movie.
So when he's talking about they were hacked apart, he's got to be talking about the Fox X-Men, because, I mean, that was a very interesting way to continue.
And yeah, they tested, like, in 2020 when theaters were being closed and then reopened. The first movie back was Tenet and the New Mutants. They were like, whatever, let's just dump it. And that's what made Nolan mad at Warner Brothers, and he stopped working with them now.
Yep.
Right Sound Studios was watching us at 2 times speed, and now he's caught up, or she's caught up. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. Appreciate everyone. Like, he couldn't even miss a minute. Stamina says, and it was released during lockdowns. They sent it out to die as bad as it was.
Facts.
They moved Doomsday instead of fast tracking it. And, like, how do you film without a finished script and all your cast signed up?
Fast track. Hold on.
Yeah,
it's not a fast track when you announce that you're starting shooting.
Yeah.
You have an end date. You do a whole live stream to announce the cast. Right? Like, we didn't set the schedule. They did. We didn't start talking about this movie. They did.
Yeah, originally, it was supposed to come out in 2025 May.
Yeah. So if the script isn't finished, if they're not done casting, and they're telling us that they started shooting, whose fault is that? It's not our fault.
Typo. Marcus, everything you saying looks like you're cracking a joke.
Because I can't stop smirking. It's my thing.
Dude, Anna, Wright don't know anything about X-Men or mutants.
Dude on the right, I guess he's talking about me. So what is the...
Maybe that's me.
It could be. I don't know.
I don't know anything about X-Men or mutants.
People,
I wish we had a device where I could, like, show you my brain and my X-Men knowledge. Oh, here. Look, check it out. And then you go, oh, he read all that.
You could specifically reference what it is that he said that made you say that and challenge the point. I hate when people make like random, grandiose type of critiques, and then like there's no follow-up. What am I supposed to say to that? You don't know anything. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? I would love to engage in debate with you, but I just don't know what it is that you want to argue about.
What's going on, Terrence? World's finest team up. Fast tracking is what they absolutely should not do, not with something that meaningful to the studio.
I don't think it's a fast track. I literally don't think it's a fast track. It was already a year out. They started filming this shit in April. How long do you need to shoot the movie? How long do you need to shoot the movie?
Yeah.
It's just me. And then to move it back 7 months. What is going on? Why did you announce that you started filming if none of this was in place? If the script wasn't in place, the cast wasn't in place, concept isn't even finished being put together. Why did you tell the public that you were actively filming the movie?
Let's go over to... We don't want to do Michael Jackson? No, I think Darius will be done driving and back home. We'll do Michael Jackson then. Okay. You'll probably cover Denzel Washington on W's and L's. But we got
over the reporter. Why do people? I feel like this is like the second time that's happened to Denzel. Why do people just think that they can grab on him? Mister, get your damn hands off me! Like, y'all think y'all can grab that man?
Yeah, there was a lip reader who did a good job of reading exactly what he said. I'm trying to find that version. I can't find it though, so I'll give you this one.
No, he told him to keep his hands off him first, and then he grabbed him again. I was like, man, stop. I'm gonna smack the shit out you. Stop. I added that last part.
Well, he wanted him to smack the shit out of him. That was the whole stunt. They hate that this guy. Turn the music off. They hate that this guy is like. Is that Rocky right there?
Yeah.
Oh
He's in
yeah,
the
they're
movie.
the Spike Lee movie together.
He's in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Cannes Film Festival, and tells him to put your hands on me, stop it. And dude is like happy and still smiling right in his face, which could be super annoying. It feels like you were paid to agitate Denzel Washington, a guy who's
grab him again.
You know what I mean? Your career is basically this guy is golden. He hasn't had any controversies. There's no Will Smith. There's no anything you can do to associate him with negativity. I'll put it back up if you want to. But like, I feel like the Denzel Washington is being set up here in France by the same people who are trying to set up the Ivory Coast, and there was just a revolution over there. Shout out to the Ivory Coast for ousting their leader. Anyways, like France, this is a French game, bro. This guy's an operative. He's really trying to make the melanated brother on the left look out to be a violent person, and he has the composure not to get into that. Salute to Denzel, bro. We love this guy.
Yeah. I don't know, like what would possess you to grab Lorenzo's arm? What would make you yoke up John Q? You lucky. See, I'm mad at ASAP Rocky. You should have stolen dude just off a GP. Take the charge for Denzel. You know what I'm saying?
You know he can't do that. It's
After everything he just been through. Yeah. No, but I definitely would have. Why are you grabbing Denzel Washington 2 times after I stuck my finger in your nose over and over and over again, and I turned to leave, and you grabbed me again? What's wrong with people, bro?
You were paid. You were told to do this. Someone is giving you more money to do it, and you know that you're not going to get your credentials taken from you. This is worth it. This is your life. This is your media moment. This is your, I can't. Logically speaking, you don't do that. There's just certain things you do and you don't do, and you know you're being paid to do something if you're continuing to do this act. Shout out to Shannon Sharp's mistress, who was given $10 million. You were paid to shut up, and nah, we're gonna take this guy to court. Then maybe there's another force paying you more.
She actually got the money. She
was gonna get it. All she had to do was shut up and sign.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was to take down Shannon Sharp, and I feel like that's what this is right here. I think Kelly Rowland had it last year, didn't she? I bet if I check Kelly Rowland France, it'll appear.
Was that at Connie's that they was doing that to her
when she was walking up them steps?
Up the steps.
It was at the Cannes Film Festival. I feel like for Mia Culpa, right?
That's crazy.
Or whatever movie she did.
What's wrong with them?
What's wrong with these French?
Yeah, what's wrong with the French?
Thought
they were lovable people.
Is this it? Here.
Yep.
Yeah,
touching people.
Like, and it's that calm down, loving touch, which makes me go, no, like, yeah, you're approaching me slowly. Huh?
Get your hands off me.
It doesn't look like any act of violence or anything, but if I'm really hot at you and now you're making physical contact with me, I don't care how slow you came up to me. I'm gonna, and then they're gonna say that was the aggressive part. He reached, like the cops do that stuff too.
What if Denzel actually equalizer punched dude like quick as hell? Pow! I'm saying gave him a quick little monkey jab to the chest.
He knows how many cameras were on him. He wouldn't have.
I have a right to my own bodily person, my own bodily autonomy. Don't touch me.
What if Chris Brown was justified in throwing that bottle a few years back when he came back to Manchester?
We'll have to see the video to find out, because apparently there's not just video of the melee inside, but him spilling outside with several individuals giving hands and feet. Allegedly.
Denzel said, stop it. Now, damn it, stop. What movie is that from? I don't know. Is this the video I'm supposed to watch? What are you talking about?
The Denzel video.
Yeah, that one. That video is infuriating. Ty Valentine says, people in France tried Kelly Rowland in Cannes last year. Denzel handled this well. Well, like the second time it's happened, it's not a coincidence anymore. People need to smarten up to France. They announced the film so they could drum up interest for it. The Marvel brand is hanging on it by a thread. Not to the chest, to the throat, Marcus.
Got to chop the throat. Gotcha.
A throat punch. Okay, they got to do the CM Punk Muay Thai chops. I really used to think this guy knew like all these disciplines and everything because he used to come to the ring like this. He
He
doesn't.
might know something.
No, we watched him actually fight. He's not really.
Ain't no shit.
Was talking about the light skinned dude. Yeah, but you see, you were challenged by Marcus, who was looking out for me. He was like, "No, what exactly did I say that
What
was
is it?
not
Yeah.
X-Men?" You know, I mean, like that proves I don't know what I'm talking about. And
Kinda.
maybe you can ask me a question and then you can see if I Google it or not, right? But you can ask me a question. I'm gonna say like, "Oh no, that happened during the Joss Whedon era of X-Men. Rest in peace to John Cassidy, excuse me."
Gets hard to respond to blanket statements sometimes.
Darius, give us an update if you can. I was instructed to watch my. Oh yeah, earlier I was DMing you, Mike. Yeah, you're right. No one understood that reference, but okay. Yeah. So where are we going to next? Let's go to. Oh, let's talk about some rights. Listen, we're very anti-studio, anti the man. We're very like independent. We're workers. We're all for the union. I think me and Marcus share that politically. I think we're always on the same team when it comes to that stuff. But when it comes to rights and comic books, I think I'm team studio now. I think let me just pull up the Instagram. Mike Diodotta, famous comic book artist, creator of Riri Williams' Ironheart. Here she is in her armor. There was like a jail breaking out, and he drew this, and he has the actual like inked like pencils. I mean, and this is where she punches down. She stops the runaway, like jail, whatever it was, break
They're
out.
pulling from his comic. I got it because this
Yeah.
is all stuff that showed up in the teaser.
It was definitely mimicked in the teaser, and I'm covering some of the words. Okay, here we go. Hope we can read these words. It says, Mike Diodotta, the artist, says, as a comic book artist, there are few feelings more satisfying than seeing a character you helped create come to life on the big screen. Tomorrow, the trailer for Ironheart drops, and I'm thrilled to share a scene from the preview featuring a moment I originally brought to life on the comics page. Riri Williams, a character I co-created with the amazing Brian Michael Bendis. Let me read that again. The amazing Brian Michael Bendis, and you can buy his comic books at Rogue Comics, is finally taking flight, and the result is stunning. It's a powerful reminder of the magic that happens when imagination meets real-world production. But as much as I celebrate this moment, there's a bitter edge to it. You see, while Marvel has built an empire worth billions on the back of its creators, the compensation model hasn't kept pace with the success. So far, I actually agree with him. I'm in a good place, one of the best paid creators in the industry, and I truly appreciate that. But it's not about me. It's about the principle. When a character you pour your heart into helps fuel the engine of a multi-billion-dollar machine, a small share of that success feels only fair. That's where I start disagreeing. Creators don't ask for billions or even millions, just a nod, a bit of recognition, and a share that reflects the contribution they've made. Marcus, I hate to stop reading, but it feels like you were talking about compensation and money up top, and then you went to creators don't ask for billions or even millions. We just want a nod. But earlier you said that it's not a fair compensation model.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just be honest.
It's obviously about the amount. It's very
Yeah.
obviously about the amount that you're getting. Which, I mean, on the principle, he's not wrong, right? Like, if they don't just outright steal these things, then they pay pennies in comparison to what they make off of them nowadays. I think where he's losing me a bit is I would have liked to have seen you maybe jump on the train with Stan when he was having his fight. I would like to have seen you, maybe you and what's the Deadpool creator that's having the
Rob Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld. Like, why isn't it that I don't see you with anyone else in their plight and their down relationship? Like, why are you not?
Everybody waits till
together?
their movie. Everyone waits till their
Thank
TV
you.
show, and
Thank
they
you.
can start bringing up my rights thing.
And
David
that's
Aja
what
did it
makes
with the
so
Hawkeye.
easy to pick them apart is because these guys have made a lot of money and they never give a shit about how workers and how the greater apparatus is being affected until it touches them personally. And so then by that time, no one gives a shit anymore. No one cares. Okay. You have thoroughly, you were thoroughly silent while other smaller creators were getting ripped off because, well, they're not stealing Ironheart. They're not stealing the other characters that I created. But then they get to your character and then they pay you pennies on the dollar, and we're supposed to get behind Mike Diado, the millionaire. No. That's just never going to be a very popular sentiment. Hey, let's be pro worker force behind the rich guy. Okay. First of all, it can't be you at the front of it complaining that you're not getting paid enough. Secondly, you should probably do the work of trying to get smaller creators paid before people are going to cry themselves a river over your circumstance.
And we read what we read on. He says, it's not just good ethics, it's good business. Happy creators stay invested, inspired, and loyal. But I agree with that. But when the business side doesn't match the creative investment, creators naturally drift toward projects where they retain control, where their work can lead to lasting financial security. Sick points. That is exactly what's happening. A lot of people are abandoning the big two, Marvel and DC comics, so that they can do their own creator owned. And even if it's not selling just as much, because they don't have to split the cost with like the editor, the group editor, they get ownership of it, then they'd rather do that. And it feels like the big two, Marvel and DC, aren't hiring the best anymore. So
they're hiring the most pliable. They're hiring the most workable.
Mike Diodato is a fantastic, amazing artist, as you can see on the side. Well, he actually put a video next to it of the exact scene that they're mocking. Yeah, there's that. That's what he drew.
Look, man, if this is a hey, let's band together, let's make sure that everybody gets paid a fair flat rate for their contributions, I would be all for it. It sounds like, hey, they did me wrong, this isn't right, and them doing me wrong somehow is wrong for the entire industry. It gets tough, man, because you're well off. You've been paid a lot. You are not one of these creators that can't pay their mortgage because Marvel took their shit and ran off with it. So it gets very hard to look at someone who's had his success and be like, oh, well, yeah, he's the face of the negative workers' rights at Disney.
You made me think about the Superman rights, and I'll get to that after I'm done reading. He says, lasting financial security. That's why more and more of us are focusing on creator-owned projects where we can truly share in the success of our creations. I'm not bitter, just realistic. I'm proud to see Riri come to life, and I'll always appreciate the fans who made that possible. But I hope one day the companies that thrive on our imaginations will truly recognize the value we bring to the table. Marvel, you can do better, and I genuinely hope you will, for the sake of the characters we love and the creators who bring them to life. So Rob Liefeld will actually say Kevin Feige's name, and he just decided to say the word Marvel, which I guess is nicer. If you want to get results, you don't actually call out Kevin Feige. He'll feel like defensive. Yeah, Superman. Listen, years ago, way back then, 100% I'm with these creators. You're right. How dare they make movies about and not pay the original people? We know the game. We know now if you're working at Marvel, it's work for hire. It's in the contract you agreed to. Now, unless all of you guys want to unionize as creators and say we're entitled to this payment compensation structure of if a TV show is made, we are entitled to blah, blah, blah percentage or 1,000, 2,000. If a movie is made, we as the creators are entitled to, a writer gets 10% or not 10, but 0.1%. Or an artist gets 0.1%. If they can do that together and unify, that's the stage we're at. We're done complaining and going, can you believe these guys making millions of dollars off of our work? Like that conversation was tired and old 10 years ago. We know that that's how this industry works. So you, Mike Diodato, and all the other Patrick Lee, every artist in the top tier, at least one, the big ones, get together and create something like
Alex Ross.
guys, you guys have power because you
But they're
sell
comfortable
comics.
though, Chill.
Your
They're
names are
comfortable. They're well compensated. They get
Yeah.
the best titles at Marvel, right? They get the annual releases. They get the pretty one shots with all the variants. Like those guys are taken care of. And so while they're still well compensated and being well promoted, it gives up the foggy glasses. That's why Dido's sitting around here on his thumbs while every other illustrator over at Marvel's getting the shaft until it happens to Ironheart. Well, now I have a personal stake and it's time to take to the internet, as if it hasn't been happening already for years. Like you said, we've known that this is the model. Why did it take it to happening to Ironheart to hear from you?
Yeah. You know, don't be like that. Don't be that kind of like on the shelf, on the bench watching. Oh, here's my time. No, I need to see unity. And I'm still against the studio because I think, guys, if you're doing a movie, not TV shows so much, but movies, we know they're going to gross millions and millions of dollars. You can't just, they should take care of paying rent for the year. You can't do that for the guy who created the character. Come on. I think
No, it looks
studios do
nasty.
need to do something.
It looks nasty. And if they'll do that to Stan Lee, the guy who built the house, they'll do it to anybody. It does look very vicious. That I think is a trickle down effect from how Disney does business, right?
Yeah.
They've been very cutthroat with the acquisition of IPs, less so in certain circles, right? Like I think Deadpool has gotten to stay what it is. James Cameron is stayed pretty much siloed off from the Disney madness. So there are a few people who can find their niche at Disney and keep their thing. But for the most part,
It's Disney, because it's not just the movies. Yeah.
It's all over the board.
It's like they're gonna take Riri Williams, who you created, who you based off of Sky Jackson. And I say Riri, I shouldn't say Ironheart. Ironheart was, I don't know my X-Men comics, but I know my Ironheart. Ironheart, the name came during artist was Stefano Caselli was the one drawing that. It was the third issue of Invincible Iron Man 2015, if you're wondering, where she gets the name of Ironheart, right? So he can't claim Ironheart, but he can claim Riri Williams in the design that he based off of Sky Jackson. So he did create that character. He's entitled to something only because they're making millions. Now, if this was an adaptation for like a lesser, like Ianu or something like that, if the guy who created the Ianu comic book, who's Roya Coupe, if his artist said, well, I deserve to have this and that and this and that, I go, okay, how much is Ianu really bringing in though? Like, is this a struggling to survive? They're just on their first season. Like, don't come over to the Ianu creator and be like, I deserve rights. Like, did you guys agree to that, or did you guys not agree to work for hire? Like, there's different standards I have because it's Disney.
Look at Rogue Comics comment. I was gonna say Rogue's comment. So yes, I understand the setup here, right? You create something, you sell it to a company, they do something with it, it makes a bunch more money, and now you want more compensation. I get that, right? We paid for it once. We were going to do what we were going to do with it. We compensated you. End of story. The problem with that is that it is a deal done in bad faith. There's no way of getting around that. If you undercompensate somebody in comparison to what you plan to propagate with it, you're doing so in bad faith, which is going to make other creators, budding creators with good ideas that you need, quite honestly, for your studio to not work with you. That in turn creates a worse product for us as viewers. So from my perspective, a company like Disney benefits a lot more from making good writers, groundbreaking writers, want to work with them and not run for the hills when they hear their name, because they know that their stuff is going to the wasteland, because they know it's going to be taken to be done unholy things with it, completely dismembered, or have their vision, their original vision, completely cut out of it. Like, I think we're at a point now, the genre, and we talked about this earlier, the genre is not at a place where it's so strong you have to go right there. All right, if you want to break into Hollywood, if you want to be big commercially, you got to go write a superhero film. That's not where we're at anymore.
I low-key want to give Mike a link so that Mike can exactly tell you what because he's got a lot. I want Mike to come and join the stream just for like a little quick little segment as I read the Superman stuff. Okay, the Superman stuff, which I brought up earlier here. Court dismissal lawsuit against Warner Brothers Discovery over the Superman rights. WBD and DC Comics will not have to face a lawsuit over the rights to Superman that looked to block the release of the studio's tentpole film in several countries ahead of its July release. So this came actually in April 25. And it says in a statement, as we have consistently maintained, DC controls all rights to Superman. On Friday, the lawsuit was refiled in New York State Court. The sweeping lawsuit from Warren Peary Schuster's nephew, Schuster, that's the co-creator, claimed infringement of copyright laws in the UK, Australia, Canada, and Ireland, among others, alleging that WBD lost its international rights to Superman years ago, but continued to exploit them without permission or compensation. It sought a share of profits from all works attributable to the alleged infringement, including Zack Snyder's Justice League, Black Adam, Shazam, in several countries. So, my point for bringing that
Why
up.
was it dismissed? Did they say why?
Because there was no merit. Because they did the rights did go to WB eventually. They've worked this out already, and if Superman's locked and covered, don't make me think Ironheart isn't, or whatever Sentry or whoever is the new comic book hero that we got seeing on our screen. It has worked in every single one of these creators now, so that they don't have to fight the original creators like Bob Finger or the guys who created Batman, the guys who created Superman. Those guys and their family have fought to be credited, to be paid. They've fought these battles, and it's over. It's over now. Like Micah Diodota, respect to you, but like you got to take a different route if you want to go the workers' rights angle. It's too late to just complain on the internet and say this isn't fair. This is about principle. You're right. What are you all collectively going to do now? And because you do have leverage, all of you artists, and you're not employees, you're independent contractors, and you guys are hired and signed. Some of you have exclusivity, but most of you don't. All of you guys need to just say, we collectively as a group are telling you, Marvel, that in January of 2026, all of us won't ever do a comic book with you guys anymore unless we are entitled to these things. And it's $10,000 if you make a TV show, $10,000 if you make a movie. I'm just picking numbers, but they can all do that. And it's reasonable enough for them to get paid. And they won't do it. So shut up forever. Don't come to me.
Money. They love money.
I didn't think that the Schuster estate was going to get the victory. I knew that would have been dropped.
I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. Like if it was a time limit on their distributing licensing, it would say that pretty clearly in the contract. Like if it ran out at some point and they didn't have the rights to distribute it in foreign countries, I mean that's kind of an indisputable thing. It should be very clearly written. If that wasn't in the contract, then that's probably why it got thrown out.
Yeah. It's hard to do this with only one guest. I'm over here trying to DM people, send people links, which, Mike, I gave you a link if you wanted to come. TikTok. Stamina says, collective bargaining doesn't seem to be a thing that'll ever catch on. It's weird to me.
Well, it's because unionizing isn't a thing anymore. Most places that try to get unions get stomped out.
It's funny, though, that
bargaining without a union.
I think that the writers and the whole comic books, they're all left leaning.
Yeah, they got the guild, but they don't. They do that every 4 or 5 years, and they're never out long enough to get the full kit and caboodle. So it's mostly performative. The studios know it. They wait until the lower level actors can't pay their rent anymore, and then Bob Iger came out and said it.
We're gonna starve them out.
He said the quiet part out loud.
He said
some of these people are working class, and we can just wait them out.
He says he said we're gonna Gaza them before Gaza happened. We're gonna starve them out.
Pretty much. So if they're not going to collectively hurt together to gain something together, then all of this is for naught.
Honestly, Like, you got to sacrifice. If it means you're going to have to work a 9 to 5 for a couple months to show Marvel you do mean business, which is going to have to happen, then you guys aren't serious. And I get it. I'm for the fight. I'm with it. Workers deserve compensation, especially when so much money is being made off of your work. You're right. And, so you raised some great points. If we're inspired as workers and creators to make these things, we'd probably be doing a better job about it. You're right. Okay. Now fight for it. Sacrifice.
You
Okay.
literally have to fight for it. Like, this is not doing anything. It's not moving anyone. It's not putting pressure on them. It's just not. Well, you're not even giving any. You're not even doing the Bo DeMaio route where you giving hurtful inside information. You're literally just complaining about your own situation and expecting it to have some broad, some broad impact.
Did you see the Bo DeMaio insult from New Rockstars a week ago?
I don't watch New Rockstars.
They were just breaking down something, rumors, and then he kind of stopped, and Eric Voss started talking about Bo DeMaio for a quick second. Here, I'm finding it.
Doesn't surprise me. He's Disney's boy. Bo DeMaio is very not Disney right now.
I'm not screen sharing, am I? No.
Nope.
Sorry. Talking about Lorna Dane. I muted it. My bad.
Campbell was rumored to play Lorna Dane, aka Polaris, daughter of Magneto, and a mutant with an ability to manipulate electromagnetic fields. Could be in Avengers Doomsday. And again, not confirmed, but a fun prospect. In response to many of these claims, former showrunner of X-Men 97, Bo DeMaio, claimed that he was the one who cast Neve Campbell for an expanded voice role in X-Men 97 Season 2. This would have happened.
Do you hear the way he just said it and he laughed? This Bo DeMaio guy said he was the one who cast it. Like Bo would volunteer a lie so grand. Listen to the way he said it one more time.
Campbell for an expanded 97, Bo DeMaio claimed that he was the one who cast Neve Campbell for an expanded voice role in X-Men 97 Season 2. This would have happened before he was fired by Marvel. This claim was made despite the fact that Neve Campbell is best known as a live-action actor with not a ton of experience with voiceover acting, other than, I think, a cameo in The Simpsons, and she's not really known for having a particularly iconic voice for animation on a show like X-Men 97 that committed to trying to bring back lesser-known voice actors from the 90s era.
Okay. Pause. So the fact we know now that at least he's not presenting as if he's working with inside information.
Yeah.
So all of this that he's giving is opinion that is presented as fact. Now, how often does he do that? Y'all can tell me because I don't watch him. But how often does he offer up his opinion as empirical fact?
Hey, did you ever watch the Lion King movie? Do you know
which one? Mufasa?
The one where Neve Campbell was starring as a voice actor in. She was in Lion King 2. She was the older version of Kiara.
Oh, so he just capped out the side of his mouth.
Where was it? Hold on.
He just capping hard.
Let me find it.
She doesn't really have a
as
so she
Kiara.
has a voice acting job in Disney, and he over here talking about she hasn't done anything but The Simpsons, I think.
Yeah. She provided the older Kiara singing voice. No, Liz Calloway provided the older Kiara singing voice. She was playing the Kiara, the love interest of Kovu. Like this guy just spoke about Bo DeMaio in such a way, like, and then look at all this proof. They tried to get the authentic voice actors. Why would they do like what?
What's the authentic voice actor for Polaris, fam?
She hasn't been in X-Men 92.
Who's the authentic voice acting voice for Polaris? What are you talking about? Just presenting random shit as evidence.
This is a Disney shill working. This is we're supposed to remind everyone that he's got this news article, and then the article pops up on the middle of the video. Where was it? Right here.
Campbell for an expanded voice role in X-Men 97 Season 2. This would have happened before he was fired.
Yeah.
Which is completely plausible. Like him saying it in that stupid ass face implies that it would be ridiculous for him to make a hiring move before he was fired. At what point was he supposed to make the move if he made it, if not before he was fired?
He just wanted to be mad at Bo DeMeo today, and he got his marching orders. He knows that's persona non grata. I don't even get it's not, you know what, sometimes when there's an 8-minute video and they just try to extend it to get 8 minutes to add the second ad in the video. This was a 13-minute video. You did not need the 1-minute detour to go talk about Bo DeMeo. Hello, Mike. Hey, Mike.
Mike from Royal Comics.
Hold on. There it goes. Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, we hear you. Let's get back into this Mike Diodota Ironheart.
When you first sent me the link, I was making tuna fish, and I'm concerned. I'm like, well, wait, I'm making food, and I was concerned about it. But I'm like, you know what? How many times I've seen Marcus eat on the stream? How many times I've seen Chili? Like he literally just goes off camera, so he takes a bite and then comes back chewing with his mouth full. So yeah, I'm over here enjoying my tuna fish.
Do your thing.
Go ahead.
Man.
Hey, he watches. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Oh, okay. Give us your perspective. You are a comic book shop. Tell us what this creative rights thing. How do you feel about it?
Well, as I said in the chat, first of all, I feel Rob Liefeld owes us all reparations for the assault that he's done since the late 80s. Like, he owes each of us an apology and money.
No, he actually did what I'm talking about. He fought. He left. He said, we're going to create Image Comics. We're going to do our own thing. And they unionized. Basically, they teamed up to create something great. So they are the answer. Him, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane.
Let's not pull a new rock stars here, okay? He got participation credit, okay? He wasn't one of the ones. It was like he happened to be in the right place at the right time. That's why he went to Image. It was Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Silvestri. It was them. So, yeah. He was just there. He was just there. Participation credit.
Sorry to cut you off and get into Image. What exactly did you mean, though? What, like, off of your Rob Liefeld? Let's get back to the topic. Mike Diodota said.
I just I understand what he's saying, where he's coming from. However, unfortunately, when they are essentially work for hires. Like, I mean, unless they have it in their contract, unless they negotiate these terms or whatever, it's like it's in retrospect. I mean, anybody, like you said, Bill Finger, and say, Bob Kane. There's allegedly some things that Bob was like taking, like he was pulling like a Stan Lee with Jack Kirby, what Stan did to Jack and all that stuff, like, taking credit for stuff that he didn't necessarily do. But I feel that if you are work for hire, once you're paid for a job, that's it. Whatever you decide you're going to do for it, it's like, depending on the type of individual you are. Like, let's say, like I said in the example, you're doing your book, Marcus draws something for you, you pay him for it, you put it on the cover, you decide, you know what, this is gonna look good as a shirt, let me do some shirts, let me do some hoodies, let me do some posters, let me do some other merch, whatever. You are not legally obligated to give Marcus any money, even though it's his creation that he drew, because you already paid him for that piece of art.
And he agreed to those terms.
Exactly. Now, if it was in his contract, anytime you do merch or whatever, I get like, a point or 2 points or whatever. Like Jack Nicholson did with the Batman movie. Like, he negotiated for points for the action figures or something like that. Or he pulled like a George Lucas. Like, that's what George did with Star Wars back in the day.
Yeah, and it hasn't been done since.
That paid off, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I guess maybe you could say maybe Ryan did something with Sinners, like similar to that, where, So, yeah, I mean, these are all, like, when you look at the restructuring of the contracts and stuff like that, that's what depends on what money you get. Like, it sucks sometimes, especially for the older guys, the ones that were around before this became an industry, like a major industry.
That's my point, is that most of those guys that signed those deals could never have imagined the merch machine that was created by these companies. But who could have? Who at least had a concept of that probably was Marvel, right? That was their idea. That was where they ultimately wanted to be with these characters. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, it feels like they dealt in bad faith. And so when you've done that and you've kind of blanket the entire industry like that, now it becomes a thing where, all right, the industry should respond in kind to you and walk away from you. It's just that they have been able, like we were talking about, to compensate some of the bigger names as to not lead them away from the Marvel brand.
Oh, wait. So you're saying that Marvel... See, I disagree with that, because At least initially, because if that were the case back in the 90s, they wouldn't have given away all of their properties to these other movie studios.
Well, when you're bankrupt, you're bankrupt. You can't do if you're not selling anything, you're not selling anything.
But
in terms of the way that they deal with the talent, though, that was kind of was what it was. I don't think that was representative of them selling off their properties. That was just they weren't good financially.
I don't think they've ever like there's ever been a talent that they've like even like somebody like George Perez, who deserved every single thing he could possibly ever want because of the way he went out of his way to do stuff, and he never got his props, or as the kids say, his flowers. But like they like I don't. Again, it's a business. It's not friend business. It's show business. Like, you're there to do something. You're there to produce something. You give them. You say, okay, this is what we want to hire you to do. It's your job as the creator, as the person that's going to be doing the creating or the creation of the art or the writing or whatever, to say, nah, I'm worth more than this, or no, I want this. Like, it's not fair, because when you're starting out, you ain't got no leverage.
Right.
But like with Bendis. When he went to DC, he's like, yo, I want to come there and I want to destroy Superman. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, sure, Brian, come do whatever you want to do. We'll let you do it. You want to bring John? You want to have John tortured for like 10 years or whatever, then come back as like a 20-year-old? Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Destroy Super Sons? Why not?
What Dan Slott does with the Superman franchise.
Dude, I hope he finds some way to make John a kid again, because it's just, it seems like every single time something happens in DC, Peter Tomasi always gets screwed, because he's always involved somehow. Like, it happened with Damian, and then it happened with John. Like, it's just, yeah. But it's not fair that when you're starting off, like, depending on you have to know your worth, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have to know, like, you know what? Okay, if my worth doesn't align with what Marvel thinks I'm worth, well, I'm going to go somewhere else, because I know, based on what I can do, that eventually it's going to come to me. Maybe
and so then you might end up being a Dwayne McDuffie in all of that, right? You may be the guy who ends up and builds Milestone and does it that way. The reality is, though, is that they pay an Alex Ross. They pay, some of these top line illustrators so well that the vast majority of those new budding artists are going to come in and take the check and do the work, right? Because they are the industry. There's two majors. You got DC, you got Marvel. If you're not going through their pay structure, then you're inherently dropping down the status of your work, is the way that it's kind of been set up. So it's either going to be a thing of, well, I'll keep ownership and sacrifice scale, or the machine is so close to death, which it is, that they start to relent to newer, more talented, more innovative creators and give them the deals that are becoming those type of people. I don't think this is a thing where they survive on the model that they're on indefinitely just because they're bigger than everyone, because that size has come back sizably over the last couple of decades. They're not really swinging a very big stick. You might as well be independent if you're writing for one of the big two right now. There's really that much of a difference.
Well, but I also think that you're not going to get, like, as much as I love him, and I think he's killing it on Amazing Spider-Man right now, Pepe Larraz, like, nobody cares about him. Nobody knows his name. But if you get Alex Ross on there, Alex Ross,
Pepe Larraz.
Not as much as Alex Ross, not as much as, say, Todd McFarlane, not as much as Jim Lee, not as, you know what I mean? Like, you need your name. He needs to be your brand. And
he needs to do interviews.
He needs to say, like, working at Marvel was like working on the plantation. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I must
say, like, not for you. Like,
Did Rob Liefeld say that?
For you.
No, Todd McFarlane actually said that. There's a documentary, you can hear him with his whole ass and his foot in his mouth, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, no, not at all, buddy. But that's the thing. You gotta, like, Rob seems to think Rob seems to think that it was his talent that made him who he was, and it's like, no, it's not. It's actually all those retailers back in the day. Because if he had what he has to, like what there is today with like Instagram and TikTok and all these other things,
Yeah.
he could have done it on his own. He didn't do it on his own, regardless of what he thinks. It was all the retailers back in the day that were like, you know, the town criers, the, you know, the you know, the Paul Revere's or something like that, telling people to buy his stuff for some reason. I don't know why. I wasn't a retailer then, so I had nothing to do with that. But it just, go ahead.
Stamina says that incentivizing creators to continue to provide their ideas by compensating them over and above their contractual stipulations seems like a good investment to me. But I don't own / run nothing, so maybe not.
Exactly. That's, and that, like, for instance, with Image, when you're at Image, you own everything. That's why, like, there was Invincible was in a Marvel team up, an issue of Marvel team up, and somebody, like, I had a conversation with a customer. He's like, "Oh, that must have taken forever." I'm like, "No." They're like, "Hey, Robert, you want to, you know, put one of your characters in the comics?" And he says, "Sure." He's like, "You know, there we go. It's his character. He can do whatever he wants with it." So that's what he did. Now, when you own your stuff, it's like Prince used to say, if you don't own your masters own you. Where he was always talking about people owning your music, people owning your songs. Don't let the record companies do that, because then you'll end up like TLC or any of these groups that go bankrupt, you know, even though they're selling millions of copies of albums and stuff. If as a label, if as Marvel or DC, you incentivize, you get someone's best effort. And this is what I said before, you get someone's best effort, because if you make them a part of the revenue sharing, then they're going to want to put out their best work, because they know, hey, you know what? The more I sell, the more money I'm going to make. The more money is going to come to us. So let me do my best instead of half-assing it. Like, for instance, James Tynion did at the end of Batman. Like, that was just terrible.
James Tynion, the fourth.
I call him Tynion. Yeah, fifth, whatever. So, yeah, I agree with him. That's what they need, but they don't do that because they feel they're Marvel. They feel they're DC. But at least DC, I will say this. I don't know if they still do it, because I know there was a thing where Ethan Van Sciver said that he got residuals, because what DC does is they pay out residuals for any time they utilize a character or a location that you create. So he always gets something, like when they would use Iron Heights in the Arrow show and the Flash show and all that, he would get cash for that. And there was something, I think, during the Justice League movie that he created that they used. So he said that he got a check that was enough to buy him a new truck or something like that from there.
Whoa.
So between the two, DC does a little more as far as paying some stuff back, you know.
Would you say that they pay back?
Payback, homie, I'm bringing CA back, and I don't do button-up shirts or drive Maybachs. All you.
Thank you to the super from I Am Two Fly Cam, $5. If you were the head of DC, would you rather see a live-action Martian Manhunter or Zatanna? Ooh, that's difficult.
Okay. We doing a Zatanna only movie, or is it Zatanna and Dr. Fate? Like, if I get Dr. Fate with Zatanna, then I'll probably take that movie over, John.
I think it's expensive to do Martian Manhunter. Because I want to see him in green the whole time. And if it's live action, he's not going to be green the whole time.
Yeah, he'll be in probably his human face majority. Well, at least, no. I mean, I think that's been a thing here recently, at least with the superhero genre. They've been able to convince big name actors to do heavy prosthetics and mask even. You know, remember when Pedro was kicking his feet about it in Mandalorian?
Now, Chill, will you have a problem with him, Martian Manhunter, being black?
Yeah, I actually do have a problem with that. You see, there's only a certain amount of melanin that these studios will tolerate having on screen during a movie. And if it's like at 10% or 15%, like they showed, go watch the video I did on Professor Snape. Like they show they have a commitment to maintaining a 12% black African American. Once I know that, when I know that's how much they actually want to have in their Justice League movie, I go, we better not be wasting some of that 12% on a green alien Martian. Go make the Martian a white character and use black on actual authentic black characters.
Well, no, you do know that like during his secret identity, he's been shifting into a black man, right?
Why
He
didn't
hasn't
you
been
address
white for a
anything I
while.
said? Why didn't you like, oh, I heard what you said, chill, and now I'm gonna fight that because you can't.
Well, I don't necessarily. I've heard what you said before because you say it on all your streams.
So then why'd you
But
ask?
because I think Martian Manhunter is different. Martian Manhunter isn't like Wonder Man, or Martian Manhunter isn't something like he's a shapeshifter. He can be
He's an alien
Yeah.
shapeshifter. He can be any race on the planet.
Exactly. He was white before, and they've done him as a black man since I think the 90s, maybe.
Notice how none of that addresses my point though about the amount of skin that is dark.
I'll address your point. Can I address your point?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it seems like you want Mike to address it. So go ahead, Mike.
I'm tagging Marcus in. Go ahead, Marcus.
I don't want to tag fight. It's 2-on-1.
No, we've gone back and forth with this before, chill. Like, I want to hear Marcus's point of view.
All right, man.
I don't. If we're automatically assuming that them making an alien shapeshifter black is going to erase a spot for an icon or a static
or Vixen or the Cyborg, yeah,
right. If we're giving the studio that out to say, oh well, they've got their black in the shapeshifter, they don't need to have another actual black character.
That's how they think.
Making an excuse, a pre-excuse for the studio. Like, we know that they're going to do it, so let's not. Why are we giving them the automatic out of why do we only have to have one?
I don't think you heard my answer. Maybe it's because you left. But I addressed a Warner Brothers chart, which showed us that they will maintain to 12%. They've told you this.
Oh,
They didn't say we'll increase 12%.
In every film, though. Is that not an average? But they're only going to have 12% black representation in every single film.
It's an average.
Like a realistic casting effort in any real regard.
Was this when was this? When was this chart from?
It's been taken down since Donald Trump won the championship. I was gonna say.
The championship's crazy.
I'm looking at.
Well, hey, pretty soon we're gonna have like reality shows where you can win citizenship. Apparently, that's what they want to do. So
that's
it's like Hunger Games, like Squid Games.
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer this question, and I'm gonna say Zatanna, but I'd rather see Martian Manhunter. But which one has more potential? Probably the Zatanna one.
Yeah, I would love to see Fate. If we could make that happen, I would love to see it.
Where we at here? More work to do. 11% is fine. They'll stick to retaining this 11.7% of that workforce being Black/African American, and they're comfortable with it. Women here, the work. Sorry, wait. I think I should have read the words underneath. Can you see those words underneath? People of color make up 41% of WBD's U.S. workforce. We recruit a diverse workforce and will focus in 2024 on retention of efforts. So if they're telling us they're going to retain their 11%, they want to maintain that 11% workforce. They're telling you that there's actually a cap. They're telling you of like this. We would never get rid of our majority over here. Like this is what we're trying to retain. We're proud of what we were able to do.
Again, I hear that, and those are the numbers. I still don't think that says that like every single project we put. Why would they be doing Blood and Bone? That blows it way past 12%. So I don't think it's every single one. I think they're saying in terms of workforce that they're probably going to stick around the same amount of actors they have in rotation, the same amount of directors that they have on board right now. They're not looking to expand any further than which that's dastardly in itself. It's nonsensical. If you have someone who's black who can help your studio, you should hire them based off of that merit, not based off of whether or not you have the number that you need to fill.
So there's going to be black projects like Children of Blood and Bone, which are exclusively understood. We know the market we're going after with this, and we'll do this movie. And it's not even Warner Brothers. I think that's Paramount. But, they're all the same thing. We got this for that community. Sinners is for Black community, and we know other people are going to enjoy it too. But we're doing that, and then we can chill on Black community for like 3-4 years until we do another Black movie. There's those. But in the general, if you look at American Idol, 4 judges, one of them is Black, and Ryan Seacrest. If you look at Power Rangers, the group, anything there's a group. If you look at the Teen Titans, they got the Black member. There's a certain amount of in these groups or in the Justice League, we're gonna have a Black representative. If you look at the cartoon with Jon Stewart on it instead of Hal Jordan, there's an understanding of we just got to fulfill our Black, and we're good. And I know that there's too many examples in the past of we're willing to be this Black, but a little bit too much Black is that's not what the general audience is looking for.
Well, my question is, why are we accepting of that model? Like, why are we comfortable letting them stay? Well, no. Here the question all the way through. Let me finish. Why are we asking these questions from the lens of we have to fit our Black representation within this 12% box that Warner Brothers is presenting? Why aren't we more critical over that in general at itself than we are saying, no, we can't have a Black Martian Manhunter because they're only going to have so many Black people on the screen and we got to protect our Black. No, like that's scarcity mindset that they've created a scarcity mindset for us.
They've created a scarcity mindset. You said it right there. They've created.
Why would we capitulate to that? I don't
want to capitulate to that. I would love for them not to have the scarcity. I would love for them not to practice.
I'm talking about us. We don't have to have these conversations from the consistent lens of, oh, well, we only have 2 spots, so we got to get the most important person in that spot. No, I want 5 spots. I want 10 spots in certain situations.
So do I.
Want as many spots as necessary. Okay, well then we got to stop having these conversations from the lens of, well, they're only going to let us have, they're only going to open up the door for.
My God. Why aren't you thinking in the future though? What that means pressure. Though, if a Martian Manhunter is cast with a Black actor,
right,
and it does come at the expense of Static Vixen, whoever we want. Then why would I ever cheer for a Martian Manhunter that's Black? Because I know that's how they operate.
Wrong, and you should attack that and not acquiesce to what it is that they're setting up for you.
Okay, it's wrong.
Spots.
Okay, it's wrong. DC, don't do that. Marvel, stop doing that. Stop making the race swaps.
What you're proposing is no more or less reasonable. It's no more.
I'm not proposing it. I'm reporting to you how they think. They're gonna tell you because we did Wonder Man, that's your Black representation. We're doing a freaking phenomenal job here on our streaming platform. That's what they're gonna say to you. It's not wrong for me to tell you.
It's almost like you're speaking it into existence, though, because you keep mentioning it. Like, just talk about it like we're fans. Like, just. You don't like, oh no, Martian Manhunter, if he's a Black dude, then we're gonna have that's one less Black role. Like,
but what Marcus is saying is that I'm acquiescing to it.
You keep mentioning it. You mention it almost all the time, Chill.
Because it's a reality. What am I supposed to say? The reality of the things isn't there. That's exactly how they think, and that's how the world is.
Okay,
that's how
so
these
then are we trying to change that reality? Or
I would love to change it. Okay,
I love working within it.
I'm not working. What am I working? I'm reporting to you.
If you're saying that we should not have a Black Martian Manhunter for the sake of their diversity,
that's what's going to happen.
You're working within their box.
Then I'm not living in their box or anything. I'm reporting that a box exists right now. And
we know that though.
To fight that,
hear
me out. To fight that, to challenge it, to go against it, which is probably something you want, right? If you want me to do that, right? I'm going to do things like support Children of Blood and Bone. I'm going to do things like fight with, like talking about sinners, and I'm going to cover these things. I'm doing the things that you're saying would combat that white supremacist ideology that exists or the limitations that are there. I always do that. I often do that. Not always. I often do it. I am in the fight. I am doing that work stuff, but it still exists. And so that's why I don't want to waste the Black characters that we got.
Can you pull that chart up again? Because I didn't see where Hispanics were. How much percentage do we have? Oh, we got 11.8. Okay. But see, I'm not always like, if the Hawk Girl is going to be played by a Colombian chick, actually,
Dina,
I think she's Venezuelan.
The Last of Us.
Yeah. That's going to take a role from another Hispanic person. I want there to be as many Hispanic person, like as long as that's who they are. I understand that it gets like annoying when they race swap and stuff like that, like they're going to be doing with Wonder Man and all that. And I do believe that your thesis has validity by saying, like, you know, it's just temporary representation, as eloquent, like the way you did the meme, and that was eloquent, and how it pointed out with Human Torch and stuff like that. But I don't know. Do you want, like, when they do these comic book properties, do you want them to look just like the comics, right? You want everything to be.
I already know
like
what you're doing. You're going somewhere else, and I don't want to go right there.
Well, no, I was having this exact same conversation with a customer today. That's why I'm asking, because
I want to stick on topic. I promise we'll get to your thing, Mike, in a second. We'll get to your thing. And thank you for being here while Darius isn't. But this is the meme that you're talking about that you mentioned earlier about how these race swaps will never last, and that's temporary. Yes, that's the Human Torch, and he's white again. And then Heimdall says, you got to say F that. We're not playing your game, and let that be. If it happens, then you fight against it. F the chart. Okay, I don't think you guys understand, because the way you write it, you said we're not playing your game. Doug, I'm not playing the game. I'm not participating in the game. I am not doing something to warn or to I'm warning. I'm not telling them you should only have 11%. I'm not playing the game. I'm just saying that it sucks when the game and the rules that they've preset, it sucks to have a black Martian Manhunter. I don't want that to be the case. It'll be cool if he can still transform into a black guy. It doesn't come at the cost of a black character.
Right? Like, you don't want him to be the only black character. If we had if you had Icon, Static, and then Martian Manhunter also happened to be shape-shifting as a black man, which again is we should really use a different character to make an actual race swap, because Martian Manhunter being a black man is not a race swap. That's him taking another human form.
Yeah, it's not a race swap.
Not a race swap. But if they're race swapping a character and we still get the original black characters in the same vein, that is not a failure, right?
Yeah, if it didn't come at the cost of another actual black character.
Other characters.
Yep. You're explaining race.
That's why I say it's acquiesce, because it creates the automatic connection to the race swap character to the deletion of the mainstay character. They don't have to delete the mainstay character. Like, that's not a requirement. It's not even a requirement based off of their inclusion standards. They could hit their 11% and still have an original black character banking off the race swap if they chose to, if it fit the story.
If they chose to, there we go. Yeah, keep going.
Sure, but all of this is ifs and fifths. Like, all of it, every single last bit of it is all conceptual. Like, we don't have a clear that feed out is not a edict on how each cast has to be constructed. So coming from that standpoint, we still have to come with a reasonable level of expectation of what we can see on screen.
I am coming with the reasonable expectation of what to see.
But I don't think reasonable means a
what? A look at history and go, oh, that's probably what they're going for?
I don't think reasonable means that every black role that is not in top condition for our liking is automatic pessimistic view. Right? Like, we can't take the route of everything that is not 100% how I like it is not going to get there, because then there's no Miles Morales. Nobody ever loves Jon Stewart. I know you don't care for those characters, but there are plenty who do, right? Because those are the characters that we've had. And so, like,
I'll take those characters,
and maybe there's not even interest from this community in the genre at all. Like, what interest would there be from young black people if there is no Miles Morales, if there is no Jon Stewart? What is there to energize a young, youthful black crowd to these genres, if not those characters?
We live in a post-2018 Black Panther world. And Static came out before Miles.
Black Panther's not here anymore, so that doesn't even count. He's not here.
It sounds like you're reporting to me the reality.
No, it sounds like I'm asking you a very legitimate question. If we didn't have Miles Morales or we didn't have Jon Stewart, would there even be the type of fervor of black nerddom that exists today without those characters?
Oh, I got you.
Like, would we have the interest in the genre if we didn't at least have those ties and those entry points to them?
Yeah, some of these glass ceiling characters have helped. Sure. I'm here talking about Martian Manhunter taking a spot, and this is a separate conversation, really.
It's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. I did say that we should use a different character than Martian Manhunter, but your sentiment around Martian Manhunter taking the spot is the issue. If it's not a Black original lead character, you don't want to see them on screen because you believe that means that they're deleting a spot for another character.
Yes.
Right? That is an assumption. That is a leap that you are taking, that you are automatically giving. Yeah, it is.
But I
because that's
maybe
not
I need
it.
more
That's
examples.
not what
Maybe
they
I need more
communicated.
examples of times where there was an ensemble of people and you notice, yeah, there's a Black guy there, and then like kids codenamed Kid Next Door. Yeah, there's a Black character on there. Yeah, and then there's the rest of who they are.
I'm not arguing that there is sufficient Black representation at any of these studios. What I'm saying to you is that when you start playing hot potato, no, not that one, this one, no, not that one, this one.
I'm not
you
playing
are
it.
doing the
I'm
work
not
for
playing
them.
hot potato. I'm not playing. I'm not a facilitator.
The way you present it,
I'm not,
you are.
listen, Mike, I'm not facilitating it. I'm telling you that's how the studios operate. The way I presented it sounds like I am, you said, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then let me clarify. I'm not with that mentality, but it exists, and I like to point it out. Chill, you're explaining racism to a Black American as if we don't know it. I'm not explaining racism to Marcus. I don't agree with both y'all making. I kind of agree with both y'all making points. Those numbers on the screen only represent what studios feel is the perspective of the U.S. numbers, but it's not the world. So if you have a movie based in a different country, those numbers would change. Yeah, and that's Children of Blood and Bone, right?
Yep.
I hear what Chill is saying. They have a quota, and they will use the rule of Wonder Man to count toward the quota. Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
We have to kill them for doing that.
Yes.
Loudly. We have to destroy them for doing that. We can't. I don't like the idea of us changing our interest to fit a studio's edict, to fit their diversity standards. I don't like the idea of throwing away a character that can to be a jumping off point for a child's love in fantasy.
So you're not talking Martian Manhunter. You're talking about the
any of those
John
opportunities,
Stewart's.
right? Because they may not appeal to us. A lot of times those secondary derivative characters are not going to appeal to us. What they are doing, though, is introducing the genre, introducing a franchise to a brand new individual. And that person viewing it through their lens can have a completely different impact.
Okay, but
and I'm not saying that those are the better roles. They're absolutely not the better roles.
Then you've read my mind, because that's what I was going to say.
They're not
There's an entire generation of kids that think that John Stewart is Green Lantern.
I keep trying to tell him this.
Until they grow up,
right? All the time.
Until they grow up and they see the Ryan Reynolds movie.
I actually had an Ivory White child come in yesterday, ask me for a Captain America pop. I gave him Steve. He's like, no.
No,
like,
Captain America.
Sam. Yeah. And I gave him Sam. Like, if you don't do that, like, it's like how they say that, racism is something that's taught. If you continue to say, okay, well, we don't want this because this is, and I don't disagree with your meme. I don't disagree with your words, but if you don't do that, like, again, there's an entire generation that knows John Stewart. They know, I forgot what his name was. Not Connor. In Young Justice. No, in Young Justice. When they made Aqualad.
Yeah, that guy.
Calderon?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And that was mismanaged by DC because they brought him in the comic, but then he was like from a different earth. Like, it was really convoluted. You got to keep things simple for people sometimes, especially kids, when you're trying to attract kids and, have a thing where you can actually influence the younger generation as they're coming up. But if you continue to take it away or say, we're not getting it the way it was, there you go. See? So you're taking it away. I think part of the problem is that, and we've had this conversation before, a lot of the characters that were created back at the time, the ones that are the most popular, whatever, unfortunately were created at a time when, they were only creating white characters, and you would have the outliers like Shang-Chi and Luke Cage and stuff like that. And then as we kept progressing and stuff, it got better, and and they unfortunately, the ones that people know are the ones that they feel are
marketable.
Thank you. Yes, that's a perfect word. like for instance, okay, let's do Ironheart.
Before you do Ironheart, I
Mhm.
want to just official Liam G said something. Same thing that the kid who went into your store asking for Captain America. John Stewart is Green Lantern. He was Green Lantern when I was growing up. He's my Green Lantern. Point blank. Period.
Mhm.
But we're applying dissonance. We're like acting like we don't know the truth, which is that the movie was based off of the Ryan Reynolds character. When the most amount of money they've ever actually, let me rewind that. I'm not doing the Green Lantern thing. I'm not doing the Green Lantern John Stewart. Get back to
You know,
Ironheart.
because-
Mike.
you know what?
It is what it is, right? Like, it's not dissonance, though. It's just that there's a different silo. We all have our own like life algorithms, the way that we saw the media come out, the times that we viewed this medium, right?
It's
like
valid.
that matters.
He was my
For
Green
me,
Lantern too.
Yeah. For me, Star Wars is the prequels. Like, that is what Star Wars is for me, because that's what I got introduced to. That's the ones that I saw in the theaters, right?
Yeah.
I saw the older stuff on TV and on VHS, and I kind of got an education once I could actually start watching movies. But the introduction to Star Wars for me was the prequels. That is a completely different perspective from Mike. I already know. It is a completely topsy-turvy perspective from Mike. But
Well, see, I allowed it because you said that's your
it's mine.
Yeah. You didn't say it was good. You just said it was yours. So yes,
it's my entry point. It's my entry point.
But with Liam, he has Jon Stewart. So now you know what he can do online. He can like post pictures of Jon Stewart. Like whenever John shows up, he will be there for him.
Yeah.
And then when he's not there, yo, DC, why don't you do something with Jon Stewart? They start saying, where are these characters?
Yes.
And go ahead.
And we could have had a Justice League with Hal Jordan could have been the White Green Lantern, but their seventh member, instead of Hawkgirl, they would have made Vixen, or would have been an authentically black character in the place of John. And that same love we got for Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern, we could have used a character who doesn't have a ceiling on him, who's not derivative of anybody else, or the second version of somebody else, and we could have had an original character in that spot, and we'd get the same results and love, and or not the same, but we would have very similar. And we would have a character who doesn't have to take a backseat during the Justice League movie that they're going to do, or like,
my goodness, you have just
the same way Zach
so much into your reasoning.
It's not an if. I guarantee that's how that would work. I guarantee that's how it works.
You can't guarantee that so much years worth of production that you're just saying is going to be like that, and we don't know. And then even again, once again, you saying that is letting the studio off the hook. If they're making a premature decision because they had a race swapped Martian Manhunter, which is their decision, by the way, it's not like we're voting on it. It's not like we get to place whatever character we want as Jean. They would make that decision, and then in turn delete a spot for Vixen, delete a spot for this character, delete it. Like, where is that written that is actually happening? If they are making a decision not to have black characters in the Justice League, why would they even need a black John?
Okay, where is it written?
That committed to not having black faces on screen, and we already know that they can offset the numbers by making one specifically black project, right? So then what is even the point of having a black John if they're that committed to not having black faces on screen?
Black John being Martian Manhunter?
Yeah.
So that they can fulfill their black quotas, which
they don't need to do that. We know that they can put all the black people in one project and still have the 12% variation that they're looking for. So if they're that committed to deleting black roles in the Justice League, what's the point of John?
I'm gonna have the same answer.
It's not going to hit it. They don't have to do it to hit a standard. They don't have to do it.
Not only that, but besides all of this stuff with like race and whatever else, did you ever stop and think that there might be like a creative thing too? Because like, okay, in Superman, you're gonna have Guy Gardner, you're gonna have Hawkgirl. Like, why is Hawkgirl in there? Why is Guy Gardner? I mean, Guy Gardner, I guess they want to introduce another Lantern because they're gonna have John and Hal on the Lanterns TV show. But Hawkgirl, like Metamorpho, like these are characters that I would think that nobody cares about, but yet they're there. Are they there because they had to check off they needed like a half purple, half white dude who can like, turn into different chemical substances and stuff like that? Or, I mean, some of the times it's not just, there's not this alternative, where it has to be defined by race. It also has to be defined by maybe it's a personal,
unwritten. It's not this ulterior motive or anything that they plan to do, that they're just it's a little bit too much of that dark skin that we got over, don't you think?
Did you ever think that sometimes people have favorite characters too that they have always wanted to do? Like, I always talk to people like, well, if a character dies, let's say you're writing the X-Men and you decide to kill Rogue, and then I'm the next writer that comes up after you, and obviously Rogue's my favorite, so I'm bringing her back.
If the writer is white, I'm guaranteeing you some of those most of those favorites aren't going to have dark skin. If the writer is white,
that's because it didn't. But actually, not even because. How about if a writer's white and old? Because if they're young,
yeah. Okay, yeah,
you're
right.
Well, I guess we're talking about movie writers, comic book writers. You'd have to flip that on their head. Al Ewing, Jonathan Hickman, Donny Cates, they can write black characters just fine. Why? It's the newer age writers that have such a hard time writing the King of Wakanda writing Chris Claremont writes them just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Old white guys do just fine in Marvel, or the Marvel writing. Excuse me, the comic book writing aspect.
They do just fine. When's the last time
the three I just named do just fine writing T'Challa?
Yeah, but
Hickman
they write him in
Avengers.
They write him in a group. Okay, yeah. Yes, fine, but they don't write the Black Panther volume. When I see Dan Slott, Chris Claremont on Black Panther Volume 11, I'll go, oh shit.
Leave Dan Slott away from Black Panther.
Well, if I'm just naming
well, hey, did you read the Superman book that he put out this week? It was good.
Good for Dan Slott. Keep him away from Marvel.
If Al Ewing gets to do it, never mind. We're just dipping into different
topics. Not save Spider-Man.
Thanks for the $5 super chat about Martian Manhunter and Zatanna. Golly. Last topic to talk about is your favorite, bro. Your favorite musician. Who's your favorite musician, Mike?
Prince?
No. The guy better than Prince.
There is nobody better than Prince. What are you talking about?
Please stop.
What are you talking about?
Please
we
stop.
got Michael Jackson coming out of variety.
I love Prince, but there is no Michael. There's no
you're saying Mike is better than Prince?
I am absolutely saying.
Chill. We gotta set up this, like, we're gonna have a versus between me and Marcus on your street. We gotta do this.
We can go track for a
with
track.
Star Wars, not with just Michael and Prince, but with Star Wars and Michael Jackson and Prince. Because this is gonna be building up.
Star Wars, it won't be fair because I got the prequels. So if you take the sequels, then we can do Star Wars.
But I could even take the
sequels.
I could even destroy you with that too.
That's crazy. Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You think the sequels are better than the prequels?
Oh yeah. Yes. And I'll tell you why. I'm gonna say one thing. I've said this before. I say this every time. When it comes to Star Wars, there is certain things that you expect from directors. When it comes to J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, I expect nothing, not a damn thing. And you know what? They delivered not a damn thing. When it comes to George, the man who created this entire universe, there's a standard. And he did not even come close to that standard with those prequels. So, by that definition alone, the sequels...
Tell that to the millions of people who showed up to see Revenge of the Sith 20 years after it released. It made $50 million in a week. I'm just saying. Tell that to those individuals.
Those were all the deluded kids like yourselves that grew up with the prequels.
Sure,
those were good movies.
All right, Michael Jackson's fans.
Worth of millennial money. Absolutely.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe there was like a couple memes like they did with the Minions and Morbius and stuff like that. We're all about memes these days.
We memed people back into the movies to see a 20-year-old movie to the tune of $50 million.
Well, see, I was going to mention some of Chill's compadres on this platform, but he doesn't like when I do that. So there's other narratives going on too, as far as Star Wars and George's Star Wars and Disney Star Wars. So I'm sure part of that had to do with it too.
Allude a little bit more.
Yeah, you can say what you want to say. Go ahead.
I can say it. Okay. Individuals like Star Wars Theory and Nerdrotic trying to prove that Disney Star Wars is terrible comparatively speaking to George Lucas Star Wars. But
it is. But it is.
No. The destruction of Star Wars happened way before Disney had it. If you saw those prequels, you would have seen that.
Come on, look.
You would have seen that. And this
They're
isn't
not
even.
they're not my favorite Star Wars movies, but they were led by George.
Doesn't mean
they were seamless with already established canon. By those two things alone, we're already beating the sequels.
Okay.
Seamless on canon and led by George. Now let's get to the damage that was done by the sequels and comparatively to the prequels. Right? There was still a budding audience when we were done with the prequels. When Anakin put on the Vader suit, people were still excited about the next entries to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It is dead. Disney has effectively killed the Star Wars brand.
3 episodes a week, not charting.
Off of, right? You could sell lunchboxes off of Star Wars. You could sell comforters. You could sell book bags, T-shirts. You could sell the old content on physical copies, and it would sell.
You sell NFTs.
They can't sell Star Wars if they had a 99% discount on it these days. There is no comparison to the damage that the sequels have done compared to the prequels. If you're saying that it had mixed fan reception, if you're saying that Rian Johnson is not your favorite director, I will second that. Okay, I'll get on that boat with you. There is no argument that the prequels did more damage to Star Wars than the sequels. It just isn't. There isn't a money line that we can point to. There isn't a fan or audience enthusiasm that we can point to between the two. There is nothing that the sequels is beating the prequels on.
The content, the quality, the fact that the creator of the universe.
What is the acolyte of the prequel era? What is the acolyte of the prequel? I would even
the prequels,
the legend stuff.
Attack of the Clones. That's the acolyte of the prequel era.
You're not being honest.
Yes.
You're not being honest.
No, I'm completely.
You're not being honest.
I can at least when I force myself against my will, I can come up with at least one complimentary thing to say about Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Phantom Menace had Darth Maul. Revenge of the Sith had the fight between Yoda and Palpatine that didn't look like he was a fucking Mexican jumping bean. When it comes to Attack of the Clones, and I'm pushing myself, the only complimentary thing I can say about that is that they had a water planet and I like the ocean. That's it. That's because I like an element. That's the only complimentary thing I can say about that. Oh, and the aliens that were there kind of look like the aliens from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's about it. Everything else was trash. The acting was trash. The special effects were trash. The story was garbage. It was all. The only thing that was in there, and this is the one thing that I think even haters and individuals like yourself can agree to, is that Ewan McGregor was okay throughout the entire thing. That was about it. Yeah, see, exactly. There's our common thing. We found something. So that's about it. That's about it.
I think you're discounting some stuff, man. You're discounting the initial fight with Dooku. Right, like the first time we saw the Chancellor kind of goading Anakin into doing something violent and against the Jedi way. Like we literally saw the descent of Anakin in Attack of Clones.
I would take 5 hours of Alec Guinness fighting David Prowse over Dooku and whatever that was with Yoda and him taunting Anakin. Then any day, inject that straight into my arms, because that was more compelling. There was more acting being thrown around in between those two old men than there was with Christopher Lee, who's a great actor, and Hayden and whoever was doing Yoda, whatever computer was doing Yoda at the time.
CGI in the hit or miss acting was enough to make that worse than some last minute thrown together love affair between the main antagonist and the protagonist, between making Luke Skywalker a hermit, right? Going away from JJ's original plan of making going away from JJ Abrams' original plan of making Luke a fucking Jedi superhero and going with making him some homeless bozo on an island.
But do you know why they went that way?
That was great, right?
Do you know why they went that way? They went that way because that's what George wanted. George was going to wait. George wanted Luke to be a hermit. That was in his original when he turned in like
these treatments had Luke going out and rebuilding the Star Wars order, the Jedi Order. He was supposed to be the one rebuilding the Jedi Order, not Rey Palpatine Skywalker, which apparently you love.
No,
right?
But here's the thing. No. I am not saying that content-wise, story-wise, or whatever. I mean, the special effects are much more improved than the prequels.
Yeah.
But by virtue of the fact alone that when I went to go see the prequels, I expected at least something as good, close to the original trilogy, and it was nowhere near that. So the expectations that I had
make it worse than this dog shit.
But it does. Just by virtue of that fact alone, it does, because that's like,
because it didn't match the original 3 episodes. That is so unfair. Like, because the first 3 episodes were the introduction to the world. It's virtually impossible to recreate that. Exactly. So you're telling me it's worse than things that break canon and ascend Mary Sue characters.
I don't
wasn't as good as the original.
I don't think he would need to create something like that. I think he would need to build off of it, and he didn't. He failed. He failed on everything. Do you want to even? Should we go into like the underlying racial stereotypes that he had in Phantom Menace, or should we just leave that alone?
I'll dive into this. No, please explain.
Oh, really? Watto. So Watto, Jar Jar.
The dudes.
What were the dudes? On the ship. What are they called?
Roy, Darth Ray or Darth?
No.
Gunray.
Nate, Newt, not.
Yeah, no. You know the ones, the Chinese ones.
Yeah.
Oh, it was separatists. You talking about the separatists? Yeah.
On the ship, they were all there. They were all there. And then this plot point. Okay, so. Part of the thing, because apparently, according to Star Wars theory, this is all about the seduction of Anakin, and I guess that can be kind of true. However, at the end of Phantom Menace, they're celebrating with the little Boomba or whatever that thing is on the little thing, like the big Gungan was holding it up, or not Gungan. What was he? The dude that was underwater, the one that whatever. He was holding that ball up, and everybody was celebrating because they just did what they did. Now, then in the next movie, we see that Anakin has progressed from being 7 or 8 or however old he was in Phantom Menace to being a teenager. Mm-hmm. He goes back to see his mom, who's still a slave. You just helped defeat they were the Empire at the time, and win your little battle there, but you don't go back to get your mom, or you don't say, "Hey Jedi, can you go get my mom, because right now she's a slave."
Hey Mike,
leave her
hey
there.
Mike,
yes.
Hey Mike. You know what? I'm gonna hop forward to your favorite era of Star Wars after the original to get a reclarification on what the rules of being a Jedi are. Maybe Chillmonger can help us out too.
I'll help you with the rules of lightspeed.
What was the main conflict with Osha and May? What was the thing that they couldn't do?
Oh, I don't know.
They couldn't separate their emotions, right? May couldn't put her connections to her family and her cult away, and that's why they couldn't take her, and that's why Osha was the one to take. Isn't the thing about being a Jedi breaking all emotional ties? Isn't that the reason why there was a little bit of hesitation for letting Anakin in the first place? Is because he was showing that
his mom
really
was a slave. She was a slave to a Jewish stereotype, and yet they allowed that. Okay, I understand about you can't have any emotional ties, you can't have any, it's like basically being a priest or whatever. But you know what? His mom was a slave. That's different than you can't send your mom a Mother's Day card anymore. You can't do that. Like, that's different. She was a slave, dude.
They essentially describe them as almost kidnapping the babies. They take them and they sever the connection altogether. He was never really supposed to see her again. So he wasn't supposed to go back and see her at all.
Was that in the EU, or was that Disney Star Wars with the whole kidnapping kids and stuff? Because I know that's one of the things that So
I know it was expounded upon in your favorite era.
No. Trust me. There's only one era of mine, and that's 77 to 83, my friend.
No,
Oh, no,
you
no, no,
plant your
no, no.
flag and say
'Cause-
that the
no,
sequels
no.
are better than anything.
Oh,
That's
no,
your
no, no, no,
arrogance.
no. I didn't say anything. I said better than the prequels, and
No,
I gave you my
anything.
reason
If the
why.
sequels are better than anything, that's
No,
your.
no, no,
You
no, no,
own
no,
it.
no, 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 no,
You
no.
own it.
It's the OT, and that. I mean, I would. Yeah, no.
You got to take them. You have to own Rey Palpatine now. She is
Oh,
your
no.
hero. She's your
Ray.
hero.
But you know what? I mean, wasn't Luke kind of a Gary Stu? Because I mean, he was essentially doing the same. He didn't fail too many times, did he?
Okay, so now I'm going to test your knowledge on your favorite
In
era.
Star Wars, no, in Star Wars, I'm talking
How
about.
did Luke start his journey? How did he start his Jedi journey? What happened to him?
He was
Uncle and aunt
whining. He was
were
whining
killed.
about getting off Tatooine. He wanted
And
to
then what
enlist in the
happened?
rebellion.
And then what happened?
Imperial snipers.
Well, they weren't necessarily snipers, but yeah, they
Yeah,
killed his.
precision.
Well, no,
Aunt and uncle were burned to a crisp outside of his home.
well, no, that didn't happen first. What they did was they found the droids, and then the droids brought the message to Obi-Wan. He found
right.
He found
And then
Obi-Wan,
what
right? Yeah,
started
right.
his journey? Why did he go meet up with Obi-Wan?
Because R2 went there.
No, because his people
Yeah.
were burnt to a crisp in front of him.
No, that happened when he went to go get R2. Don't you remember?
I'm done. I'm not here to talk Star Wars and legacies of some other, let's get back to why we're here. We're here to talk about, I think we have one more thing to
Oh,
talk
you were
about.
doing Michael Jackson, the
Yeah, we're
second
talking about
best
Michael
Oh
Jackson.
artist
yeah.
in
Stop it.
the history
Cut
of
it out.
music.
He's the king of pop for a reason.
Actually, you know what? I'll give you this. Prince is the better musician. Mike is the better performer.
You know who's the better musician and better performer? Super chat.
You know it's hard out here for a pimp when he tryna get this money for the print.
Equals are dog water. Anakin clears that rubbish.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
I am Two Fly Cam with a $2
I hope you paid him $4
conversation
for that
ender.
$2.
Yeah, we are here to talk about the last thing, which is a Michael Jackson biopic. Let's not spend too much time on this. I know that Darius will probably be covering this. If he doesn't do it tomorrow, then definitely by the next time we talk. That Michael Jackson fans will have to wait a bit longer for Antoine Fuqua's biopic. During Lionsgate's Q4 earning call, John Flethamere shared an update on the film starring Jackson's nephew, Jafar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
In regard to our Michael Jackson biopic, we're excited about the 3.5 hours of amazing footage from producer Graham King and director Antoine Fuqua, and we will be announcing a definitive release strategy and timing in the next few weeks. I would note that it is likely we will move Michael out of the fiscal year, which will impact fiscal 2026 financial results, but will bolster an already strong 2027 slate.
Now,
He didn't say release
a hit
date.
piece, or is this going to be like an actual movie, like
Actual
Ali
movie.
and stuff like that? Okay.
Now, he says we'll be announcing a definitive release strategy and timing. You're supposed to say a release date, but because you just told us you have 3.5 hours, it's very likely the language he's using, they've already decided that this is 2 movies. The fiscal calendar ends in March of 2026, so the statement indicates that the film or films will likely debut after April 1st of 2026. Last month, Variety reported the film would be split into 2 parts.
Well, wasn't there some sort of controversy over this or something like that? Or
They used one of the cases where the one of the people who settled with Michael also signed an NDA, so they weren't to be mentioned or named in any other projects or recreations of the situation going henceforth. Now,
the kids from back in the 90s?
one of them, yeah, one of them. And so my whole thing was it kind of felt like, because that's just something you would feel like you would be going through with a fine-tooth comb if we're talking about Michael Jackson. Like, okay, what things are what can we stay in the legal bounds of, and what things should we just not touch altogether? Like the Finding Neverland kids, I probably would just steer clear of that altogether. It's been pretty much litigated in the public as much as it can be. I don't think they have any credibility left in that regard. They should probably stick to the things that were public and settled, right? Public and settled. Highlight the FBI investigation. Something about that I didn't learn about until I was a grown ass man with Michael Jackson. You'd always hear about, oh yeah, touching little boys and sleeping with this and da 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 da. But the one detail that I had never heard until I started watching documentaries as an adult was that this man was investigated by the FBI. Now,
For 10 years.
Now, I am not law enforcement, never have been, you know what I'm saying? But the one thing that I do know is that the FBI, if they want you, they get you. The federal government in general doesn't usually go after big guys that they can't take down. They don't usually bring about cases that they can't take down. And so the fact that this man was investigated for a decade, like you said, and they came up with bupkis on top of the numerous eyewitness accounts of people who have been at Neverland and never had any type of the same type of situations that were being described by the accusers. I felt like they should have leaned into that.
Well, you see, Mike wanted to buy Marvel.
He wanted to buy Marvel. He was trying to buy Sony. He was trying to create himself such an apparatus that he was going to be untouchable at some point.
And he asked after he got done doing the song "Say" with Paul McCartney. He's like, Paul, what do you suggest I do? And he's like, oh, you should buy music. He's like, okay. And the next day he went out and bought the Beatles.
Paul McCartney was so mad. He was so
and that was the end of that friendship.
And I imagine it was just because Paul had probably done the same thing to other smaller artists or other catalogs, and along his way, he shared some of that knowledge, not thinking that Michael was probably big enough or endowed enough to purchase his catalog, and lo and behold.
But see, here's the thing too. There's some conspiracies I kind of give a little credence to, but there's rumors that Sony was still to the day Mike died, pretty peeved that he owned that gallery and he wanted to get it back. And
absolutely
certain events
because when he bought it, he ended up buying a piece of Sony, like ownership. I think there was part of that purchase. He owned enough of Sony's catalog to have like majority ownership in the company at that point, I think.
And I don't know where it was from, but I saw a thing where Mike was saying like Tommy Mottola is the devil, like he's corrupt, all this other stuff, and I'm sure they didn't like that either.
Nope.
And you know what? Since the same thing could be said about Prince too, because he was the one that was going around telling artists
about their deals,
you're right, and stuff like that, and don't devalue yourself.
Absolutely. He was talking about these 360 deals before any of these rappers were getting them.
Yeah, because in fact, somebody in your country, Chill, he was doing Much Music, and somebody asked him about Mariah Carey's deal or whatever, and how much she made, and he's like, how many albums she sold or whatever. Do you think that's a good deal? Like, he's like, I don't think so.
Yep.
So conspiracies may have a stigma, and the perpetrators of these conspiracies have put that stigma on it. They happen. We don't live in a hunky-dory world where everything's exactly how it's reported. There are people in the background working against our interests. What does he mean by our? Literally everybody. Everyone who's not in that top tier class.
Facts.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like Bill Cosby. Don't we start with Bill Cosby?
It's possible for him to be. Remember what Dave Chappelle said in his stand-up? Yeah, that. Grand Regent Thrag. Prince was like the first artist to make his album available online from his own website for download, or one of the first.
Yeah, technically, I think it was David Bowie was the first.
Oh, he was?
Prince was second. Yeah, it was around the same time.
I thought it was Bare Naked Ladies, but that shows you how much I know. I could have sworn it was
that because they're Canadian. Stop it. You can acknowledge an American and a Brit. Okay.
No, I acknowledge. I definitely. I'm saying I thought it was. So I know you're right.
Okay? The idiot that's in charge of our country has deemed you guys as the enemy. Okay.
I think you guys are going to be like a USA North. Isn't that right? Are we gonna, I'm going to buy you or something like that?
51st, 52nd state. What is it?
State.
Yeah. There we go. It's going to be better for you. That's what he said.
I'm just going to annex it. We'll annex the whole thing. Can you guys bring your healthcare system with you though?
Anyways, so
We'll get
Michael
rid of
Jackson.
that line between the countries. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
The movie here is called Michael, and I don't think that's a good enough name. I think they gotta have something like a nickname related to an album or something. Now it's like All Eyes on Me was the name of Tupac's album. Go find a Michael Jackson album that's not bad, but this is
What was the
something
Queen
Mike
movie?
Wait. What?
What was the name of the
'cause
Queen movie?
The Queen,
Queen
movie,
movie?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian
that.
Rhapsody.
Thriller.
Yeah, they usually
Call it
use
Thriller.
songs.
Thriller's
Thriller,
good.
yeah. Or Billie Jean.
Thriller Part 1, Michael Jackson Thriller.
Off the Wall.
Ooh, I like Off the Wall.
Thriller their movie. No, that's happened already, right? So they gotta change the name though. I don't think Michael is just good enough.
Off
But
the Wall, a Michael Jackson story.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that.
I'm a little bit more nervous about what it will perform like. I think Darius told me it's gonna gross $1 billion. I'm sure many people in the chat right now are gonna agree with that. I just don't know. Yeah, the King of Pop, there's a good one. Not Dangerous, no.
Dangerous.
The King of Pop Part 1, I think, is a better title. I think that's it. We haven't had another movie called that.
Wait, so what are you gonna call both? If they split them, both of the movies are gonna be called that.
Prince of Pop, King of Pop. Boom.
Prince of Pop,
For the first movie.
because he was young. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do you know who gave him the name the King of Pop?
The fans.
No, himself.
As only Michael Jackson could.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you got to compete with a prince, I guess the only one you got to say, "Yeah, I'll call myself the king," even though
What
you're
did-
really
what did
not.
Drake
But it's
say?
okay.
What did Drake say? What's a prince to a king? You a son.
Mm-hmm. Drake.
Well, that concludes today's Pantheon Darius Lists live stream. Thank you to Mike of Row Comics, where you can shop in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and assist him in his financial goals. Thank you to Mike, and thank you to Marcus from OH.
No, hell no.
OH. It's your state,
Absolutely
right?
not. I'm from Columbus. You guys can check me out on Sundays on Back of the Bus doing dubs and L's and Behind the Cape. Check me out also on replays throughout the week.
You can watch me on Chillmonger, where it's been a hard week. Hear me vent.
Yeah, I saw that video with the crap.
Yeah.
What is it? You guys crap or something like that?
Thanks
But see,
for
I tell
watching.
you that, like, no, I did see that one. I have told you that all the time. Like, don't lean into that nonsense with the stupid thumbnails and all other stuff. Just keep doing the stuff that you care about, that you talk about, regardless if there's 3 people or 2 people or 23 people or whatever. Don't do that. No, don't sell out. No.
It's not that. It's not that I'm selling out. It's that
You are.
I'm gonna amass the audience. I'm gonna get the numbers, and then I can start dropping in the facts about everyone should watch Ianu. Everyone should watch Children of Blood and Bone. I'll get my numbers up, and then when it's time to talk about the things I like, I'll do that. But I'm not gonna abandon my Marvel coverage. It's basically the point I'm trying to say. I'm not gonna leave the things that the people will come here for.
You don't have to make it always like what's the word? Negative.
Well, if Marvel's doing a Thunderbolts movie that hasn't even grossed 400 million, it's gonna be negative.
How about just make it factual?
Sure.
I also think it's okay for you to highlight the things that you feel are good. How else are you going to promote
There
them
you go.
if creators like yourself don't tell people about it, right? Like Ianu getting a second season is huge. Ianu getting a couple of movies to expand their world is even more huge. Like, it's deserving of coverage. I don't think you have to necessarily damper down that support in lieu of Marvel just because that's what people are flocking to. People can be persuaded to watch a lot of things.
I'll do exactly what happened today. Talked about Avengers, Doomsday, and Dune, and Ironheart, and talked Denzel Washington, Michael Jackson, and then at the end, by the way, there's this really dope thing called Ianu. It's got a second season. Go see me, check it out. And I read the article on Variety on my live stream. But majority of the content is going to be that pizzazz stuff that everyone wants to see.
But don't
and then
do
you're
that.
gonna get
Don't do that.
then you're gonna get the thing where maybe I even like ask a creator or someone who owns their own IP to join me on a live stream, and we can promote them, kind of like I'm doing now with Mike. You own your own shop, don't you? Shop in
Yeah.
Connecticut with Rogue Comics. You see, there's a way
And
to
how
go
about doing
it.
like positive
Not grift monger.
pizzazz?
I can't guarantee you positive. If there's a negative news story out there, it's going to be a negative news story.
How about balancing it out?
No, I'm going to do.
Yeah, no. Stop. You're just bringing
the news of
negativity
the
into
day.
the world. Stop
No.
it.
I'm going to do whatever is the hottest news of the day, whatever is the biggest things that I see. When I check out what Tyrone Magnus just posted on his channel, I'm going to go, oh, is that what people are talking about? Maybe I'll do my version of it.
Sounds original.
See you guys on Sunday for Marcus's live stream Back of the Bus. We're out.